Chapter 13:15. If he had known Yi Jiuzhen had this kind of ability, he would have killed her in the family who before she arrived. He would have avoided today's disaster. Everyone's expression was vicious as they aimed their killing intent at Luo Qingtong. We can't let her cure Hu Zhongtian. Send me over. You guys stop them.
The great-granduncle made a prompt decision, and immediately spoke to the members of the Hu clan in the surroundings.
Yes. The few elders of the Hu clan acknowledged the order. They took a step back and slapped the back of the great-granduncle with their palms. The latter's figure instantly flew up and pounced in the direction of Luo Qingtong. Not good. Hu Fei didn't expect them to use this move.
They didn't forcefully break through his and the second elder's defense line, but joined forces to send the great-granduncle over.
With the great-granduncle's strength and the fact that Luo Qingtong was treating Hu Zhongtian, they couldn't act rashly. The ninth young master was in danger. Bam! Hu Fei intended to stop Grand-uncle.
However, he hadn't even flashed up when he was stopped by the elders of the Hu clan who'd attacked him once more.
They were the ones who were entangled with him. Luo Qingtong was currently treating Hu Zhongtian, so she couldn't give orders to the Gu mother. The order she gave it was to attack the Hu clan members. Naturally, she couldn't cooperate with Hu Fei and leave.
Young master.
Hu Fei was entangled by the Hu clan members and couldn't leave. He could only anxiously look in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others, praying for Luo Qingtong to hurry up. Hurry up! Hurry up and finish the treatment.
However, he was still at least 20 breaths away from the 100 breaths of time Luo Qingtong gave him.
Luo Qingtong still had at least 3 transverse bones that hadn't been treated. The great-granduncle's figure had already landed not far behind her. Oh my god! Little Pig originally thought he would be fine, but now all his pig hair stood on end. There was only him and Yen Yong here. Don't count on Yen Yong. Previously, she had been hunted down while pregnant, and her body had been injured. Later on, her soul had left her body, and her cultivation had been completely destroyed. Her body was also extremely weak. Although Luo Qingtong helped her recover, the damage to her soul was irreversible. Although Yen Yong's soul power had been replenished. However, there was always a barrier between her soul and her body. This was a drawback caused by her soul leaving her body in the past. If there were no accidents, she would never be able to cultivate again in this lifetime. In other words, they could only rely on Little Pig alone. How could its hair not stand on end? Because it hadn't fully recovered its strength yet. There was no way for him to break the seal and reveal his true form. Could it be that he had no choice but to sacrifice himself for the greater good? Although this little pig's body wasn't mighty or domineering enough, it was still a body. Without it, he would be forced to shrink back into the eternal darkness seal, and he didn't know when he would be able to see the light of day again. Little Pig's heart felt stifled as he thought about it. F***CK. You stinky old bastard. You have mung bean eyes and protruding ears. Your son doesn't have a D***CK. You brandy nose and scabby head. Couldn't you have come a few breaths later? Little Pig cursed as he looked at the great-granduncle's figure. However, the great-granduncle ignored him. He waved his hand. Boom! Chapter 13:16. This attack contained 200% of the great-granduncle's strength. He was determined to kill Luo Qingtong, together with Hu Zhongtian, who was standing opposite her. Father! Master! Seeing this scene, Hu Yenyang hastily rushed toward Luo Qingtong and Hu Zhongtian. However, she didn't have the strength. Even if she stood in front of Luo Qingtong and Hu Zhongtian, she would only lose one more person. There was no way she could block the great-granduncle's attack. Little Pig clenched his teeth as he watched this scene unfold. Sigh! Let's fight! He leaped up and rushed toward the attack. With the little strength he had accumulated in his body, he wasn't sure if he could block the attack. If he couldn't even block this attack, he would be finished. Then he would have sacrificed his body for nothing. Just as Little Pig was thinking about this, another figure suddenly rushed in front of him and collided with the attack with a bang. Ah! Amidst that scream, the second elder's body lay on the ground on the verge of death. After twitching twice, his eyes were wide open and there was no sign of life. At the critical moment, Luo Qingtong took out a strand of her mental strength and controlled the Gu mother to rush back. However, before Little Pig, Hu Fei, and the others could breathe a sigh of relief after the attack was blocked, they heard a loud bang.
It was the place where great-granduncle was. His figure instantly turned into countless fragments of light and disappeared in front of them. Not good. Little Pig's eyes instantly widened when he saw this scene. It's a smoke screen, he shouted and immediately turned around to look at Luo Qingtong. Sure enough, he saw a faint figure suddenly appear beside Luo Qingtong. Humph. Cunning brat. I knew you were strange. Did you think I would stop with just one killing move? The great-granduncle's expression was ferocious. After this battle, he already knew that Luo Qingtong wasn't simple. Since that was the case, how could he simply throw out a killing move and be done with it? He wanted Luo Qingtong to die. He didn't want to leave any future troubles. Did she think she could still dodge his attack with her strange tricks and tricks? The great-granduncle sneered. He raised his hand and slapped toward Luo Qingtong's head. The attack just now was just a smoke screen. This attack was the real killing move. Moreover, at such a close distance, he wouldn't give her any chance to escape. Haha. Damned brat. You and Hu Zhongtian are going to die together. As long as he killed Luo Qingtong, he would kill Hu Zhongtian with a backhand. Neither of them should even think about escaping. The great-granduncle's voice became even more ferocious. As he slapped his hand was to attack, the great-granduncle. Then they turned into streams of energy that were added to his palm, causing the strength of his palm to become even more terrifying. It was almost enough to shake the mountains and move the earth. Master! 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 Hu Yenyang, Hu Fei, and Little Pig cried out in alarm. Luo Qingtong also felt the frightening wind coming from the palm above her head. The surging great-granduncle almost blew her hair loose. Luo Qingtong frowned as she looked at the situation inside Hu Zhongtian's body. There was only one transverse bone left. But there wasn't enough time. It wasn't impossible for Luo Qingtong to avoid this killer move. But what about Hu Zhongtian? Chapter 13-17. Luo Qingtong was deep in thought when suddenly a red light flashed on the ring finger of her left hand. At the same time, in the courtyard where Luo Qingtong lived. Swoosh! Yi Qianxian, who had been curled up and sleeping soundly under the blanket with his tail as his pillow, suddenly opened his eyes. Qingtong! He let out a low cry in his heart and let out a warning cry from his mouth. In an instant, his figure disappeared from the bed. When the family who guards outside heard the commotion and looked through the window, they couldn't even see a single strand of fox fur. Oh no! The silver fox is gone. The guards had been ordered by Luo Qingtong to watch over the silver fox. They couldn't let it run away like last time and almost get caught. But this time, the silver fox suddenly disappeared. The guards in the courtyard were instantly thrown into chaos. Just as the guards in the courtyard were in chaos, Yi Qianxian suddenly appeared beside Luo Qingtong. Roar! When he saw the great-granduncle attack Luo Qingtong with his palm, the saber-light and blood-red swords in his eyes seemed to want to fly out and fly towards the great-granduncle. How dare he hurt his Qingtong? Bang! Yi Qianxian's body instantly leaped from Luo Qingtong's body and rushed towards the great-granduncle's palm. Boom! As his body leaped up, the little bit of power that he had spent so much effort to dissolve in the body of the small fox suddenly surged out and cooperated with the resonance of the 9 Netherworld Phoenix Ring and the Omnidirectional Dragon Ring. The Omnidirectional Dragon Ring on the silver fox's paw vibrated slightly. Then, a faintly discernible shadow suddenly appeared behind it. As it waved its little paw, a palm blasted forward. The shadow's back was facing Luo Qingtong. It had silver clothes and black hair. It was dignified and as handsome as a god. The wind from the palm was as if the sky and earth had been turned upside down. This! Seeing the sudden appearance of the shadow, the great-granduncle was stunned for a moment. He thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Originally, he thought it was funny that a silver fox had appeared to block his attack. Now that he saw this illusory figure, he couldn't smile anymore. The opponent seemed to be a person. A person whose reputation was known throughout the entire continent. Almost no one dared to provoke him, and no one didn't fear him. Black! His eyes bulged out of their sockets in shock. But before he could finish his sentence, the silver fox's paw came down on him. At the same time, the faintly discernible shadow that had appeared behind it had also arrived. Bang! The great-granduncle was sent flying in an instant. After that, Yi Qianren's body also fell from the sky with a pa-ji sound. He fell into Luo Qingtong's arms. This body of his couldn't use the battle skills and strength of a human. Relying on the connection between the omnidirectional dragon ring and the 9 netherworld phoenix ring, he forced himself to use it. In an instant, the little bit of power in his body was completely drained, and he fainted. Silver treasure. Luo Qingtong was originally very surprised that the silver fox had appeared here. But when she saw that it had exhausted itself to save her and fell into her arms, the blood in her eyes became even colder. The blood in her eyes surged rapidly, and it was incomparably intense. Old dog, you're courting death. Chapter 13:18. Then her blood-red eyes flashed, and she looked coldly at the great uncle who had been slapped away. Bang! Luo Qingtong raised her hand, and 3 needle-like forces penetrated her Bai Hui acupoint in an instant. Instantly, Luo Qingtong's strength skyrocketed. Bang! The forces that she probed into Hu Zhongtian's body surged rapidly and removed the transverse bone and flesh. Then, she suddenly raised her hand and slapped. That hyoid bone was instantly crushed into powder by her hand. Boom! Hu Zhongtian's aura instantly shot through the sky like a rainbow. His cultivation that surpassed the Saint Realm had completely recovered, and all the forces in his body were connected. Spare his dog life. I want to deal with him personally. Luo Qingtong's eyes were cold as she raised her hand and handed Hu Zhongtian a bottle of medicinal liquid. Although she had already tried her best not to damage Hu Zhongtian's internal organs, injuries and pain were still unavoidable. Drinking this bottle of medicinal liquid would help Hu Zhongtian's injuries recover faster. She wanted that great uncle to suffer a fate worse than death. Don't worry, young master. Hu Zhongtian took the bottle of medicinal liquid and drank it all in one gulp. Then, his figure flashed, and he instantly appeared in front of the 5 clan elders who were pestering Hu Fei. Those people were still pestering Hu Fei and not letting him leave. After the second elder, their shield, was temporarily transferred away by Luo Qingtong, they still wanted to take the opportunity to kill Hu Fei. Now, the latter was covered in injuries under their siege. When Hu Zhongtian appeared, they were instantly dumbfounded. You. How can you be fine? Their faces were filled with shock. They couldn't believe that great-granduncle wouldn't be able to kill Yi Jiu and Hu Zhongtian. How was this possible? Their great-uncle was an expert who surpassed the Saint Realm. Unless that Yi Jiu was an immortal who had descended to the mortal world, it was impossible for him to block their great-uncle's attack. They could not figure out what was going on. Everyone was so frightened that their hearts trembled. They turned around and wanted to escape. However, it was too late. Since Hu Zhongtian had already recovered his cultivation, how could he let them escape? Since the other party wanted to annihilate their main branch, then they would also leave them here for good. Didn't they want family Hu? If they left the corpse here, the entire family Hu would be theirs. Hu Zhongtian's expression was cold. He attacked and killed them all. The elders didn't even have the chance to escape as they screamed and died one by one at the hands of Hu Zhongtian. As for the great-granduncle, he struggled to get up from the ground. Yi Qianqian's attack had a limited effect on the cub's body, so he wasn't able to kill him with a single slap. If he was in his human form, this great-granduncle would have died a long time ago. Bang! He had just stood up, and before he could regain his senses, Hu Zhongtian had already killed the 5 clan elders, as well as the rest of the clan members who had come with them. In an instant, he appeared in front of him and raised his palm to slap him. Leave him to me. Luo Qingtong's voice rang out. You stand guard at the side. Luo Qingtong clenched the 1,000-year soul guiding wood tightly in her hand. There wasn't much power left in it. Luo Qingtong had not intended to use it carelessly. But now. Chapter 13:19. Humph. Do you think you can touch me? The great-uncle sneered. He didn't take Luo Qingtong seriously at all. She even planned to use this opportunity to control Luo Qingtong in her hands. He had already discovered that the other clans were all dead. Now, he was the only member of the clan left. If he didn't seize this opportunity, he would also die here. It just so happened that this Yi Jiu thought that he was strong enough and wanted to kill him himself. He was simply overestimating himself. He sneered as he watched Luo Qingtong approach him. He had already reached out to grab Luo Qingtong. Because he realized that Hu Zhongtian had actually listened to Luo Qingtong and didn't attack him. This was really an excellent opportunity. As for the little fox and the shadow behind it, it was probably just an accident. The great uncle, who had survived a great disaster, didn't take this matter seriously at all. After all, if it was really that Blackfield underworld venerable who attacked, how could he have a chance to survive? Now that Luo Qingtong was courting death, he should quickly capture her and use her to threaten Hu Zhongtian. With this thought, he sneered even more and reached out to grab Luo Qingtong. Young master. Hu Zhongtian watched from the side and was a little worried. But ever since Luo Qingtong entered the residence, she had been creating miracles. Although Hu Zhongtian was worried, he didn't rashly stop her. The young man had used many incidents to prove that listening to him was the right thing to do. Bang! Luo Qingtong watched coldly as the great-uncle's hand reached out to grab her. The bloody light in her eyes flickered. Then with a swoosh, she dodged the attack. The life-and-death duality sword in her hand switched instantly. The life blade absorbed, and the death blade cut. In addition, Luo Qingtong's pupil techniques saw through the weakness. In the blink of an eye, a bloody gash appeared on the hand of the great-granduncle. What? The great-granduncle was shocked. Although he was afraid of Hu Zhongtian and did not use his true strength that surpassed the sage realm, the protective aura around him was not that easy to break through. Where did this young man named Yi Jiu come from? How could he do such a terrifying thing? While he was still in shock, Luo Qingtong's cold voice rang in his ears. Old dog, do you know what death by 1,000 cuts is? It's okay if you don't know. I'll let you enjoy yourself today. The silver fox's soft body was nestled against her chest, and it looked so weak and helpless. This caused the fury in Luo Qing's heart to erupt like a volcano, and she vented it at her great-uncle. It was rare for her to devote so much effort to a little fellow, especially since this was a gift from Yi Qianxian. But because of this old dog in front of him, he almost got into trouble. If she didn't skin him alive, she wouldn't be able to vent the anger in her heart. Bang! Luo Qingtong swung her sword at her great-uncle again. The latter had just suffered a loss and subconsciously wanted to use his true strength to fight back. However, at this moment, Hu Zhongtian took advantage of the situation and caught his attack. Luo Qingtong's sword accurately cut his other hand. Ah! That great-granduncle screamed. Luo Qingtong's sword was so heavy that it almost cut off his entire wrist. Chapter 13:20. The smile on Luo Qingtong's lips was cold. The girl's smile was evil and enchanting. Even though she was wearing men's clothing, she was not inferior in the slightest. The aura that was revealed completely broke through the disguise of Qi's 100 changes. It made Luo Qingtong's ordinary face stand out from the rest. The great-uncle looked at her slightly raised lips and held his severed right hand. In an instant, his body trembled violently and he almost broke down and cried. Luo Qingtong's aura looked too much like a gorgeous demon that had crawled out of hell. Evil and full of murderous intent. It was only now that the great-uncle realized what kind of person he had provoked. She was just a martial ancestor. Normally, he would be able to crush him to death with a single finger. But now, she had forced him into such a miserable state. When he was preparing to seize control of family Hu and kill Hu Zhongtian's family, the great-uncle did not expect that it would be such a young man, a martial ancestor. He had ruined their plans. The great-uncle cried bitterly and begged for mercy. Luo Qingtong did not pay any attention to him. When the other party dared to attack her and family Hu, their fate was already sealed. Begging for mercy? If she had not turned the situation around today, if she had not stayed to watch the show today, would they have spared Hu Zhongtian's family? Would they have spared her? Luo Qingtong would never listen to the remorse and regret of these losers. Because she knew that they had lost. That was why they had no choice but to beg for mercy. If they were the ones who won today, they would only happily reap the lives of their own people. Winner takes all. What was there to reason with? Luo Qingtong would never forget a sentence, and that was, being merciful to the enemy was being cruel to yourself. This was a lesson that she had learned through countless blood and tears and countless experiences of being hunted down. Luo Qingtong slowly cut the great-uncle's body. The latter was still desperately begging for mercy at first, but when he saw that Luo Qingtong was not moved at all, he screamed and cursed loudly. Don't be so smug. Don't think that without us, family who can sit back and relax. The Bai family has already promised the second elder to help him seize control of family Hu. Moreover,
The Bai family is determined to get that map. Hu Zhongtian, you're in trouble because of your wealth. Sooner or later, you'll be at the mercy of others. Ha ha! I'll see how you die. He screamed at the top of his lungs and his entire body trembled violently. He was almost reduced to a skeleton by Luo Qingtong. At this moment, the voice of a guard's report came from outside. Master, there are people from the Bai family. Of the Luo Qingtong's family. The Bai family is here. The great uncle laughed out loud. His dark eyes looked in the direction of Luo Qingtong and the others. His laughter was full of pride and joy. He did not expect that the Bai family would come in time to save his life. He shouted, Hu Zhongtian, if you know what's good for you, let me go immediately. Otherwise, the Bai family will make you die miserably. Chapter 13:21. When he said this, his murderous intent was obvious. All of it was directed at Luo Qingtong. That Yi Jiu dared to torture him like this. He must kill him. Really? Sure. Unexpectedly, before Hu Zhongtian could speak, Luo Qingtong had already nodded with a smile. I'll let you go. Not only will I let you go, but I'll also send you off. Luo Qingtong said. Then, under the gaze of the great-granduncle, she slit his throat. Bang! Luo Qingtong lifted her foot and kicked his skeleton to one side. Then she asked outside the door, how many people from the Bai family are here? Who are they? There's a team of guards and an elder. The guard outside answered. Master, the Bai family must be here to force my father to hand over that thing. Not only that, they must be cooperating with the second elder to force my father to give up his position. When Hu Yenyong heard the guard outside report that the Bai family had come to see her, she had already guessed the other party's intentions. Her eyes immediately turned cold. Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei were also very angry. The two of them said coldly, These bastards from the Bai family are here at the right time. Our family whose revenge is about to be settled with them one by one. When Hu Zhongtian said this, he immediately ordered the guards outside in a cold voice. Invite them in. Invite them in and they won't have to go out anymore. Hu Zhongtian's face was full of anger. Yes. The guard outside received the order and immediately turned to leave. Outside the gate of family Hu, a team of people from the Bai family was waiting. Sixth elder, do you think this Hu Zhongtian will obediently listen to our orders and hand over the Hu clan's authority and that thing? He was very stubborn before. In front of the Bai family team, the leader of the guard said to the sixth elder. Humph. The sixth elder snorted and said, Stubborn? It has to be more stubborn than his life. Hu Zhongtian is already a dead man. Hu Fei is also a bedridden vegetable. In addition, Yen Yang and her idiot son have returned. If Hu Zhongtian wants to protect them, he has to do as we say. Previously, we didn't have enough bargaining chips, and his life was tough enough. I'm afraid that if I push him too hard, he'll leak the information about that thing. That's why I let him drag it out until now. Otherwise, do you really think that they're family who can protect that thing from us? The sixth elder sneered. This time, even if he wants to, he has to. I don't want to. You have to agree. Brilliant. Brilliant move. The guard commander hurriedly flattered. Patriarch, they really didn't leave anything out. They have calculated everything. But sixth elder, are we really going to help Hu Zhongtian protect Hu Fei and Hu Yenyang after we get the items? Wouldn't that cause endless trouble in the future? The guard commander said. Humph. How is that possible? The sixth elder laughed sinisterly. Hu Fei and Hu Yenyang will all die. Especially Hu Yenyang and her son. Patriarch has already given the order to act as soon as we get the items. When the time comes, we just have to push all the blame onto family Hu, the clan, and the second elder's people. Chapter 13:22. The sixth elder's expression was cold and gloomy. Hu Zhongtian and his family must die. Although he did not know why the Bai family head would give such an order, family Hu was no longer a threat to the Bai family. It was no longer the time when the Bai clan needed to rely on the Hu clan to survive. Hu Zhongtian was dying of illness and Hu Fei was in a coma. Although Hu Yenyang had returned, she had given birth to a foolish son. There was nothing to be afraid of.
The sixth elder could not understand why the Bai family head wanted to exterminate Hu Zhongtian and his family. However, this had nothing to do with them. They only needed to carry out the order. After all, this matter was decided by the Bai family head and the first young miss. The sixth elder admired Bai Feng, who was the first young miss of the Bai family. The Bai family's present situation was mostly thanks to Bai Feng. Her words in the Bai family were more effective than Bai Chongfeng's. Therefore, after knowing that the decision was made by Bai Feng, the sixth elder and the others did not have any objections even if they did not understand.
"Oh right, there's someone called Yi Jiu inside,"
the first young miss said to capture him for questioning. "When you make your move later, remember not to kill him. It's best to capture him first. Then we'll kill Hu Zhongtian and his family," the sixth elder said. The reason Bai Feng gave such an order was naturally because of the Gu poison mother. Although she did not think that the loss of contact with the Gu poison mother and the destruction of the voodoo sect had anything to do with family Hu. However, Bai Feng's thoughts were meticulous and vicious. When the voodoo sect was in trouble, she ordered the voodoo sect to awaken the Gu poison mother and kill Hu Fei. That Yi Jiu knew medicine and seemed to be related to the imperial family. Bai Feng naturally wanted to capture him and interrogate him. If he really had nothing to do with this matter, it did not matter. She could just kill him when the time came. With his relationship with the imperial family and his help in Chu Lingfeng's matter, Bai Feng would not let this Yi Jiu go if she wanted to exterminate Hu Zhongtian and his family. It was only a matter of time before he and Hu Zhongtian's family died. As for the imperial family, this was the far west wilderness, not the southern region. Without evidence, what could the people of the imperial family do to her? Moreover, once family whose item was in their hands and they joined forces with the Hua family, the Bai family's status would immediately rise. At that time, with a high branch like the Ouyang family, even if the imperial sect wanted to touch their Bai family, it wouldn't be that easy. When Bai Feng had sent her men out, she had already thought of a way to deal with this situation. Unfortunately, she hadn't thought of Luo Qingtong's existence. As a result, she had completely collapsed from the start. The Bai family and family whose guards entered the Bai family's residence together. Along the way, the sixth elder and the others were full of arrogance. If they weren't wrong, then the members of the Hu clan, the second elder, and the others had probably arrived here a long time ago. Sixth elder and the others had purposely trailed behind the other party. It was all for the sake of giving Hu Zhongtian and the others a heavy blow when they were at their most desperate. This way, the other party would obediently hand over that thing. When the members of the Bai family entered the family Hu, the corpses of great-granduncle and second elder had all been disposed of in the lobby. A faint, strange fragrance floated in the air. The furnishings in the surroundings had also been replaced. Chapter 1323. Luo Qingtong calmly sat down below Hu Yenyang with the silver fox in her arms. Hu Fei, on the other hand, was hiding behind the screen. They wanted to see what the Bai family had to say. Luo Qingtong held the silver fox in her arms. Her hand seemed to be caressing it, but in reality, she was using her power to probe the little guy's body. Although her blood eye confirmed that the little guy's body wasn't damaged in any way, the little guy was still too small. Luo Qingtong was afraid that the little guy's body would be damaged if she couldn't detect it. That would affect its future growth. After all, the little guy's claws had sent great-uncle, who had surpassed the Saint Realm, flying. It took him a long time to get up. This wasn't a power that an ordinary fox could display. Luo Qingtong was afraid that the little guy had used some secret technique that was beyond his age. It would be troublesome if his body was damaged. But speaking of which, Luo Qingtong didn't expect the silver fox to be so strong. She thought it was just a little fox. No matter how strong it was, it couldn't be that strong. She didn't expect the little fox that Yi Qianxian gave her to be so extraordinary. No wonder he put the 10-direction dragon ring on it. But Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows. Was she imagining things? When Silver Baby had waved its claws earlier, she seemed to have seen a faint shadow appear behind it. That shadow. It looked like Yi Qianxian? Luo Qingtong thought to herself and looked down at the silver fox in her arms. The little guy's eyes were closed, and he was curled up in her arms. Its small nose was red and tender, and its big fluffy tail was wrapped around its body, under its head. He looked indescribably cute. Luo Qingtong looked at the little fox and couldn't help but touch its little nose. She smiled and said, "You little guy, don't tell me you're Yi Qianxian?" As Luo Qingtong said this, she was instantly amused by her own thoughts. She was imagining things too much. How could Yi Qianxian turn into a little fox? Even if he could really change, it was impossible for him to change into such a cute little fox. Luo Qingtong thought about the little guy's cute face when he was grabbing the grasshopper and asking for the chicken. She couldn't help but laugh again. She couldn't imagine Yi Qianxian doing something like that. If this little fox was him, he would never do such a thing even if he was beaten to death, right? Luo Qingtong thought this and pinched the little fox's ears. She had just checked the little guy's body, and there was nothing wrong with it. However, there seemed to be a very powerful force hidden in its body. It was bottomless. Luo Qingtong didn't probe too much. This should be the reason why the little guy was able to make such a powerful attack. As for why Yi Qianxian's shadow appeared behind it, it should be because of the Shifeng dragon ring. That man had inserted his power into the ring, and this little guy had inadvertently triggered it. Luo Qingtong thought this and felt relieved. She didn't think too much about it. Yi Qianxian didn't know that his identity had almost been exposed. Chapter 1324. When Luo Qingtong's power entered the silver fox's body, the hidden power of the heavenly fox's blood essence dissolved even faster. When Luo Qingtong finished examining the silver fox's body, the Bai family also stepped into the hall. Family Hu. Seeing Hu Zhongtian sitting in the main seat of the hall, the sixth elder and the others felt a little strange, but they didn't put it in their eyes. After all, as by Chongfeng's confidants, they all know what's going on with Hu Zhongtian's body. It's absolutely impossible to cure the other party. When he took the bottle of medicinal liquid that increased the number of broken bones in his body, he was already doomed to die. Right now, he's probably just trying to maintain his last shred of dignity, right? Thinking so, the sixth elder and the others suddenly walked in with a cold snort. Family Hu, it's been a long time since we last met. Are you safe and sound? The sixth elder's words weren't anything good. Everyone knows that Hu Zhongtian is seriously ill, yet he still asks if the other party is safe and sound. The sarcasm and malice in his words can be heard by everyone. If Hu Zhongtian was still seriously ill, he'd probably spit out a mouthful of blood after hearing these words. But now that his body has recovered, he looks at the sixth elder and the others like he's looking at a group of clowns. Even Hu Yenyang is sitting coldly in the seat below, looking at the sixth elder and the others with a sneer, not angry at all. Sometimes, watching others jump around like fools in front of you is also a kind of pleasure. They want to see what new tricks the Bai family can come up with. Thank you, sixth elder and family head Bai, for your concern. It's all thanks to you. Of course I'm safe and sound. Hu Zhongtian's voice is cold. Isn't it all thanks to them? If it weren't for them forcing Yenyang to leave and almost dying outside, how could she know Luo Qingtong? If they didn't know Luo Qingtong, even if they were forced to death by the Bai family, no one would help them. Now the reign is over. It's time for Family Hu to take revenge. Haha. Family Hu really knows how to joke. Of course, the sixth elder wouldn't take Hu Zhongtian's words seriously. As far as he was concerned, they'd been forced into a corner by the second elder's line and the Hu clan. Now that he saw the Bai clan's people come, he guessed their purpose. That was why he gritted his teeth and said those words. Patriarch Hu's words really hurt our patriarch's feelings. Back then, our Bai family helped your Family Hu a lot. This time, I asked for that item from Family Hu because I didn't want a pearl to be covered in dust. After all, that thing is completely useless in the hands of you and Family Hu. Family Hu doesn't have the ability to use it either. But it's different if you hand it over to our Bai clan. Our Bai family has the support of the Hua family. Once we succeed in exploring the Saint Monarch's tomb, our Bai family will have a meteoric rise, and your Family Hu will also benefit from it. What's more, Family Hu, you don't have much time left. Even if you don't plan for yourself, you should plan for Hu Fei and Yenyang, right? At this point, the sixth elder glanced at Hu Yenyang proudly and said, "We're also very sorry about what happened to Yenyang back then." Chapter 1325. Second elder's bloodline will definitely inherit Family Hu. Although Yenyang is a direct descendant, she is a woman and has been involved in such a disgraceful scandal. It is impossible for her to inherit Family Hu.
But as long as head of family who hands over that thing, we will have a reason to intervene in family whose affairs after your death. We will protect them and prevent them from dying too miserably. What do you say, head of family who? At the end of his words, the sixth elder had completely revealed his true colors and threatened Hu Zhongtian. The meaning of his words was very obvious. Unless he did not care about the life and death of Hu Fei and Hu Yenyang. Otherwise, he could only do as they said and hand over that thing. The sixth elder didn't even want to make a better promise. In the past, when they negotiated with Hu Zhongtian, they would use the reason that Hu Fei was in a coma to protect him and not let second elder's bloodline bully him. Now that Yenyang was back, they did not even mention anything about letting her inherit family Hu. Instead, they used the past to belittle her. They looked down on her. On one hand, they wanted Hu Zhongtian to hand over that thing, and on the other hand, they firmly supported second elder's bloodline to inherit family Hu. Everyone could hear the perfunctory and coercive tone in their words. This sixth elder was relying on the fact that he had all of Hu Zhongtian's Achilles' heel in his hands, so he did not bother to hide anything. Before Yenyang came back, they were afraid that if they pressured Hu Zhongtian into a life-and-death struggle and spread the news of that thing, by then, the Bai family would have nothing to gain. But now, Yenyang was back. And she had brought back a silly son. With Hu Zhongtian's guilt and love towards the mother and son, he would definitely agree to their request. By then, the sixth elder sneered, and before Hu Zhongtian could speak he said, "By the way, there is a young man called Yi Jiu in family Hu, right? I heard that he is a friend of your grandson? Our eldest miss wants to invite him to the Bai family as a guest. You can ask him to come out." The sixth elder said. "Oh, for me?" Luo Qingtong did not expect that she was involved in this matter. She was carelessly holding the silver fox in her arms. Her face was contented, and her body was lazily leaning against the large armchair. One leg was slightly bent, looking very unbridled and languid. When she heard the sixth elder's words, she immediately raised her eyes and looked at him. Bai Feng. That woman was not an ordinary scheming and vicious woman. He had done everything he could to the voodoo sect without leaving any traces behind. There was no way she could have guessed that he was the culprit. She did not expect that she would not let her identity, Yi Jiu, go. She would rather kill the wrong person than let her go. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up her lips. With just a casual thought, she could roughly guess the reason why Bai Feng had invited her over. But this time, she would have to disappoint Bai Feng. Yans. How dare you call the eldest miss by her name? The sixth elder didn't expect that the young man sitting in the hall was Yi Jiu. This was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance. But wasn't this family Hu father and daughter a little too weak? Such an ordinary-looking young man with average strength dared to be so presumptuous and disrespectful in front of them in the hall where they were meeting important guests. Chapter 13:26. The sixth elder thought to himself disdainfully. Then, he waved his hand and said to the guards beside him, "Capture Yi Jiu. How dare he disrespect eldest miss? He will be sent to eldest miss for interrogation." After saying that, he turned to Hu Zhongtian and Hu Yenyang, who had stood up abruptly, and said confidently, "Patriarch Hu Yenyang, don't blame me for making a move here. This Yi Jiu is too daring. Not to mention his disrespect to our eldest miss. He has no respect for you. I know you can't do anything to him because of your feelings. I will teach him a lesson on your behalf." His words were both shameless and arrogant. Luo Qingtong could not help but laugh when she heard that. Teach her a lesson? Or teach her a lesson on behalf of Hu Zhongtian? This sixth elder really dared to say this. In her previous life, those who dared to say such words in front of Luo Qingtong and put it into action had all died miserably. This sixth elder was no exception. Luo Qingtong looked at the Bai family guards who were rushing towards her without even blinking. She still maintained that comfortable and languid sitting posture as she said indifferently, "All right, the show is almost over. You are almost clear about the situation. You can take action now." Following Luo Qingtong's words, the sixth elder looked in the direction of the main door with vigilance. He thought that Luo Qingtong meant that she had arranged for someone else to ambush them. However, when he looked over, he did not see any movement outside the gate. The sixth elder immediately sneered and turned his head to look at the sixth elder. "Huh, pretending to be mysterious. Yi Jiu, right?
Don't think that you can escape by saying this. Before he could finish his words, his face was stiff and he stood there in a daze. Opposite him, the Bai family guards were all lying on the ground without any signs of life. You. The sixth elder looked at the scene in shock. What shocked him even more was the cold aura that emanated from Hu Zhongtian's body. Beyond the saint realm, this aura was solid, powerful, and soaring to the heavens. This meant that the hidden danger in Hu Zhongtian's body had been completely removed. You've recovered. The sixth elder's eyes were wide open, protruding like goldfish bubbles. He couldn't believe his eyes. How could Hu Zhongtian's illness be cured? His illness. Are you surprised? Hu Zhongtian's face was filled with a cold smile and killing intent as he snapped the neck of the last Bai family guard in his hands. At this point, all the Bai family guards who rushed towards Luo Qingtong to capture her were completely annihilated. I've already said it before. It's all thanks to your Bai family that my body is safe and sound. It's obvious that you didn't listen to me. Hu Zhongtian's sneer became even more obvious when he said this. That's right. Didn't you set up this trap and swapped my healing medicine so that I would be ground to death by the broken bones in my body? What a pity. I'm afraid you didn't expect this. Back then, Bai Feng schemed to frame Yan Yang and sent people to kill her. She narrowly escaped death. In the end, she met the ninth young master. Chapter 1327. If I had fallen into the hands of others, I would have died. However, in the hands of the ninth young master, I have completely turned the situation around, turning misfortune into blessings. From now on, all the hidden dangers have been removed and my cultivation has been restored. Bai Tian Tong. From today onwards, it will be the end of the Bai family. The Bai family had really gone too far. Ever since Bai Feng had plotted against Yan Yang, the Bai family had continuously stepped on family whose decline to rise. They had been kind to others and Yan Yang had even treated Bai Feng as her sister. She had protected the Bai family during their most difficult period in Wildland City. However, how had the Bai family repaid them? Yan Yang had gotten pregnant before marriage and missed out on the engagement with the Hua family. She had been accused of being a slut and slut. She had illicit relations with others. Family who had been humiliated. His son, Hu Fei, had a bright future and should have become a dazzling star in Wildland City. However, he had been forced into a deep sleep during the best years of his life. He had been bedridden for more than 10 years. If it had not been for Luo Qingtong, if it had not been for her extraordinary abilities, medical skills, and knowledge of the Gu technique, Hu Fei would have been a useless person even if he had woken up today. As for himself, he had almost been forced to his death on the bed by the Bai family. Their goal was to get what Bai Feng had gotten from framing Yan Yang. Only the heavens knew that if time could be turned back, life could be restarted. He would rather use that so-called compensation in exchange for his daughter's most beautiful smile. These people deserve to die. Bai Feng deserved to die. Everyone in the Bai family deserved to die. Hu Zhongtian's eyes were filled with tears of blood. His expression was terrifying. The two people he cared about the most in his life. His pearl, his pride, his light and hope. All of it had been destroyed by the Bai family. Even though Hu Fei had recovered his strength and Yan Yang was doing well, the memories of the past could not be washed away. The sorrow of the past could not be forgotten. He wanted the Bai family to pay with their blood. The sixth elder was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. You actually know everything. They even knew that eldest miss was the one who had harmed Yan Yang. The sixth elder's heart trembled to the extreme. He was frightened by Hu Zhongtian's words. It wasn't because he was afraid that Hu Zhongtian and the others would seek revenge after finding out the truth. Instead, he was afraid that once Hu Zhongtian and the others knew the truth, they would spread the news. The person who took away Yan Yang's virginity. If he knew what happened back then. Thinking of this, the sixth elder's body suddenly trembled violently. He had heard the young miss and the family head mention more than once that the identity of the man who took Yan Yang's virginity was no small matter. Now that Hu Zhongtian and Hu Yenyang knew the truth. No way. He had to rush back immediately. Tell the patriarch and the eldest miss to get ready. They had to kill Hu Zhongtian and the others at all costs. With that thought in mind, he immediately said to the guard commander beside him, "Quick! Hurry up and stop Hu Zhongtian."
I will immediately go back and inform the family head and the others. That guard commander also knew the seriousness of the matter, and immediately blocked in front of him in a flash. However, before the sixth elder could turn around and leave, a voice rang out. At this moment, a figure came out from behind the screen and looked at them coldly. Sixth elder, where are you going? Since you're here, then don't leave. Chapter 13:28. You. Looking at this figure, the sixth elder and the others were shocked beyond words. In an instant, they couldn't even speak properly. Hu Fei. They called out his name in shock and disbelief as they looked at the figure that emerged from behind the screen. Solid aura, vigorous fluctuations of strength. The Hu Fei standing in front of them didn't seem to be pale and dispirited from being bedridden for more than a decade. Instead, he was strong and powerful, his body straight and firm. It was as if he hadn't been bedridden, paralyzed, or unconscious for the past decade, but had been in closed-door cultivation. And the sage realm fluctuations that came from this man's body caused the sixth elder's face to turn pale with fright. Just like great-granduncle and the others, the sixth elder couldn't figure out why Hu Fei had been bedridden for so many years, but his cultivation and strength had risen instead. Just what had happened to family Hu during this time. As he was thinking this, he suddenly remembered Hu Zhongtian's words. Then, his eyes locked onto Lu Qingtong, who was still lazily sitting in the armchair, gently stroking the sleeping silver fox in her arms. It's you. This Yi Jiu had changed the fate of family Hu? He had cured Hu Zhongtian and awakened Hu Fei? He had even made Hu Fei's strength breakthrough during this time. Just who was this person? Why did he have such abilities? The young miss had clearly said that Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei could not be cured. Hu Zhongtian was one thing. But Hu Fei's coma had been hidden from the man who had taken Yan Yang's virginity. With that man's strength and status, he hadn't been able to see through it. How could this youth have seen through it? Not only that, but he had also awakened Hu Fei and restored his cultivation. As the sixth elder thought this, his heart suddenly trembled with horror. You? Who the hell are you? With such outstanding medical skills and abilities, it was impossible for this person to be unknown in the true Spill continent. But no matter how the sixth elder searched his memories, he couldn't find the name Yi Jiu. If this person wasn't hiding too deeply, then he was using a fake name. You are not qualified to know my master's identity. Luo Qingtong glanced at the sixth elder indifferently. She didn't say anything, but Yan Yang coldly said, Master. The other party's background was indeed extraordinary. The sixth elder was horrified. He looked at Luo Qingtong's youthful face, that calm and demonic aura. Suddenly, a thought popped into his mind. What if this young man's face is not fake, but his real age? Then, within the Sky Spill continent, for someone to possess such a young age and also possess such profound and terrifying medical skills. You are. The sixth elder seemed to have thought of something and instantly looked as if he had seen a ghost. He pointed at Luo Qingtong and was speechless for a long time. Seeing that he seemed to have guessed her identity, Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly, then she waved her hand. Kill him. Her voice was concise and to the point, revealing absolute coldness and ruthlessness. Towards her enemies, Luo Qingtong had never been merciful. Not to mention, the other party had already guessed her identity. That meant he had to die. Chapter 13:29. She likes the feeling of being in the dark while the enemy is out in the open. Who made the rule that only the enemy can cause trouble in the dark? She likes it too. Yes. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei, who could no longer hold themselves back, charged towards sixth elder and the others. The latter's group was only a guard commander and sixth elder were only at the saint stage. In front of Hu Zhongtian and his son, they were nothing. Sixth elder's words were cut short and he did not even have the chance to escape before he was surrounded and killed by Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei. He, along with a group of by-family guards who had swaggered over, and the commander of the guards, had all died at the hands of Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei. At the moment of his death, sixth elder only had one thought in his mind. It's over. It's completely over. The Bai family is finished. He's finished too. Bang! The bodies of sixth elder and the others crashed heavily onto the ground. However, Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei's faces were still filled with malice. Their eyes were bloodshot, and when they looked at the bodies of Sixth Elder and the others, their eyes were filled with unconcealable hatred and viciousness. It's not enough. Just the blood of these people is not enough. The blood, tears, pain, and suffering of their family for so many years can only be washed away with the blood of the Bai family. Bang! Hu Zhongtian took a step forward and grabbed the body of a Bai family guard, tearing it into pieces. Ah! He raised his head to the sky and howled. His howl was filled with years of forbearance and restraint. Now, he unleashed it all. Hu Fei stood beside him with bloodshot eyes. Both father and son looked at Luo Qingtong at the same time. With a bang, Hu Zhongtian was the first to kneel on the ground, followed by Hu Fei. Ninth young master. Hu Zhongtian's eyes were bloodshot. He kowtowed to Luo Qingtong and said solemnly, "You've saved our family Hu's life. Father and son have no way to repay your kindness. We should repay you with our bodies and pledge our loyalty to you, young master. But the Bai family and our family who have great enmity. We, father and son, have no choice but to take revenge for more than 10 years of suffering. We dare not implicate you, young master. Please leave quickly and don't stay in family Hu any longer. We will go to the Bai family for revenge. Please take care of Yen Yang and Ling Feng." At this point, Hu Zhongtian kowtowed 3 times to Luo Qingtong. The sufferings that his children had suffered, and the humiliation that he had suffered, he would definitely seek revenge from the Bai family. This was a battle of revenge that belonged to family Hu. Luo Qingtong should not be implicated. As for Yen Yang and Chu Lingfeng, following Luo Qingtong would be better than staying in family Hu. It could also be considered as leaving behind a trace of their family Hu bloodline. At this time, Hu Zhongtian no longer had any worries about his family and clan. His entire being was indescribably relaxed, and he no longer had any regrets. After kowtowing to Luo Qingtong, he stood up and prepared to leave. Behind him, Hu Fei also kowtowed 3 times to Luo Qingtong with red eyes. Then, he stood up and followed behind his father, preparing to leave. As a son and the future successor of family Hu, he was duty-bound to avenge family Hu. Father. Big brother. Hu Yenyang looked at the backs of the 2 of them as they left. Instantly, her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife, and tears streamed down her face. Master. Please let me go with father and brother. Yen Yang once said that her life belongs to master. But at this moment, I really can't let myself stay out of this. Chapter 1330. Hu Yenyang knelt on the ground. Ever since she was saved by Luo Qingtong and swore her loyalty to Luo Qingtong, her life belonged to Luo Qingtong. She shouldn't have said such words. However, she really couldn't just watch Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei leave. Since they were a family, they should live and die together. Now that Chu Lingfeng had Luo Qingtong's protection, she had no regrets. The only one she felt guilty towards was Luo Qingtong. Yen Yang is unfaithful. Please grant my wish, mistress. Please grant my wish, mistress. Yen Yang knelt on the ground and kowtowed to Luo Qingtong twice. Enough. When she kowtowed for the 3rd time, Luo Qingtong suddenly flicked her sleeve and stopped her. I didn't say you can't go. Why do you have to be separated by life and death? Luo Qingtong frowned slightly. She stood up and looked at Yen Yang, who was pleasantly surprised. She suddenly raised her head and looked at her. Let's go together. Luo Qingtong killed Bai Jintang and stole the clear heart purple jade fruit and the thunder beast that the Bai family wanted. The enmity between them and the Bai family had long been formed. The fact that she didn't have family Hu was unavoidable. Now, with the addition of family Hu's matter and the map in their possession, sooner or later, they would have to face the Bai family. Since that was the case, this time family Hu wanted revenge, let's go together. With this thought in mind, Luo Qingtong walked out with the silver fox in her arms. Little Pig had already been stored in the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. That guy's strength hadn't recovered yet, so Luo Qingtong didn't allow him to wander around outside. She didn't want anything to happen to him. As for the silver fox, Luo Qingtong frowned. She originally wanted to store it in the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. After all, the 9-layered exquisite pagoda was the demon-subduing pagoda. It was extremely beneficial for the recovery of demonic beasts' auras and injuries. But when she tried, she didn't succeed.
Could it be that this little guy had already been contracted by Yi Qianxian? Or was it because of the 10-directional dragon ring? As Luo Qingtong thought this, she touched the black dragon ring on the silver fox's paw. Although she was confused, she didn't think too much about it. Since he couldn't put it away, he would just put it in his sleeve. Otherwise, when she moved later, it would be difficult for her to use it. Moreover, he was also afraid of hurting the sleeping little fellow. As Luo Qingtong thought this, she put the silver fox back into her sleeve. At the same time, Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei were pleasantly surprised when they heard that Luo Qingtong wanted to go with them. But soon they began to worry. Young master. Hu Zhongtian looked at Luo Qingtong and said, "To tell you the truth, the Bai family's strength is one of the best among the middle-ranked families in Wildland City. And our family who has already fallen to the bottom of the middle-ranked families after all these years of decline. Although we have already recovered and improved our cultivation with the help of the young master, we still haven't recovered. But in terms of overall strength, our family who is still far behind the Bai family. This time, we father and son are going to die. But young master, you are different. You don't have to take the risk with us." Both of them looked sincere. Luo Qingtong saved their family Hu. Naturally, they didn't want her to be in danger because of their family Hu's grudge. Family whose strength was inferior to the Bai family. They didn't think that they would be able to return alive from this trip. They only wanted the Bai family to pay with their blood. How could they implicate Luo Qingtong? Chapter 1331. Master. It's all right. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. I have my own plans. When the time comes, all of you just have to listen to me. Since she wanted to go with family Hu, she naturally had a way. Don't worry, whatever the Bai family owes you and Yan Yang, I will naturally make them pay back, bit by bit. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she flicked her sleeves and walked out. Hu Yenyang and Hu Zhongtian were pleasantly surprised as they hurriedly followed behind her. This young girl had single-handedly saved family Hu and pulled family Hu and them out of the bottomless abyss. Not to mention Luo Qingtong asking them to listen to her, even if Luo Qingtong asked them to die. As long as they could make the Bai family pay the price, Hu Zhongtian and his son would do it without batting an eyelid. As for Hu Yenyang, she was well aware of her master's capabilities. As long as she agreed to help, there was a high chance that she would be able to avenge family Hu didn't know that the evil Dr. Ghost I would never lie or speak nonsense. He was a man of his word. He was a man of his word. Hu Yenyang felt that she must have accumulated a huge amount of kindness in her previous life, which was why she was saved by Luo Qingtong at the most critical moment of her life. From then on, the fate of her and her son would be completely changed. Hu Yenyang could not believe that if Chu Lingfeng had not met Luo Qingtong, who had gone to the Blackfield subcity to make a name for herself, what would have happened to her and her son? She was afraid that the grass on their graves would have reached their waists by now. And family Hu, her father and eldest brother, would have been driven to their deaths in endless despair and pain? As Luo Qingtong thought of this, she could not help but burst into tears. At the same time in the Bai family, when Luo Qingtong was enhancing Hu Fei's strength, Bai Feng was already rolling on the ground in pain. She was connected to the heart of the Gu Poison Queen. This was originally the most foolproof way for her to control the Gu Mother. But now, it had become the source of her greatest pain. When Luo Qingtong severed her connection with the Gu Poison Queen, Bai Feng felt as if her heart had been crushed and she spat out a mouthful of blood. But now, the reverse Gu technique was like pulling out her tendons and peeling off her bones. It caused her entire body to twitch in pain. What shocked Bai Feng even more was that the power and cultivation within her body seemed to be wildly sucked away by something, and was continuously draining away. No, no. Bai Feng screamed crazily. Apart from the fact that she had absorbed Hu Fei's essence, energy, and spirit to enhance her own potential, the other part of her strength was the large amount of nourishment she had received from the voodoo sect. But now, all of this strength was flowing away like water. Bai Feng felt like she was about to go crazy. This loss of strength did not seem like an ordinary loss of strength. This was a complete regression of his cultivation. And because the Gu Mother was connected to her heart's blood, the strength that had been drained away would never return. This meant that no matter how much of Bai Feng's strength had been drained away, she was destined to be the same person in the future.
She would never be able to replenish her strength. This was the backlash from the Gu Mother's reverse Gu. In the end, before Bai Feng was completely sucked into a cripple, she severed her connection with the queen of the parasites with a bang. She had almost exploded her own heart in order to completely break free from the terrifying suction force. Chapter 1332. One must know that Bai Feng was an expert who was very close to surpassing the Saint realm. Whether it was in the Bai family or the Hua family, she was highly respected and highly regarded. Now, her cultivation had suddenly dropped to the martial emperor realm. Moreover, it was barely maintained at the martial emperor realm and could fall at any time. This unforeseen event instantly caused her face to distort, and she almost fainted. Bai Chongfeng, who had been watching all this from the side, had his eyes wide open. He didn't know what was going on. He had sent people to seal off the entire hall and searched everywhere. However, he didn't find any signs of anyone attacking Bai Feng. How did Bai Feng suddenly become like this? Moreover, her cultivation. Bai Chongfeng's face was filled with shock as he looked at Bai Feng's martial emperor cultivation. He couldn't believe his eyes. It was as if she had cultivated some evil technique and because of some mistake, she was suddenly beaten back to her original state and even fell back. Bai Chongfeng looked at Bai Feng in shock. Fenger! Your previous cultivation. He didn't know that Bai Feng knew Gu techniques. Bai Feng had concealed everything very well. The voodoo sect was her faction. Other than herself, even Bai Chongfeng didn't know. Every time Bai Feng used the voodoo sect's strength to solve problems for the Bai family, Bai Chongfeng didn't know the truth. He even thought that Bai Feng was using the Hua family's strength. Now that he saw Bai Feng's aura suddenly disappear, he thought about how Bai Feng's strength had increased very quickly over the years. It didn't make sense. Others might think that Bai Feng was talented and had accumulated a lot of strength. However, Bai Chongfeng knew that Bai Feng's talent was actually not very good. Yan Yang's physique was powerful. It was just that she had always been pampered and didn't have much interest in cultivation. Every time she just casually cultivated. If Bai Feng hadn't told him this secret, he wouldn't have known. Back then, Bai Feng was crazily jealous of Yan Yang. Therefore, her strength increased by leaps and bounds later on was very abnormal. Bai Chongfeng had thought that it was because she had received better training and treatment in the Hua family. Now, it seemed that she had cultivated some evil technique. Could it be that she had suffered a backlash? It had to be said that Bai Chongfeng had guessed the truth. However, he would never have guessed that this backlash wasn't natural. It was man-made. It's family Hu. There's something wrong with the family Hu. Big brother, hurry. Call back the people from family Hu. Bai Feng finally awoke from the despair of losing her strength. She hurriedly said to Bai Chongfeng. She was the one who fed the Gu mother, so she naturally knew that this was the backlash from the Gu mother. To be able to make the Gu mother that she fed with her heart's blood lose control and backfire, the person who controlled the Gu must be much stronger than her in terms of Gu arts. Moreover, Hu knew how many powerful Gu techniques he had mastered. This was a type of Gu worm that could feed on the heart's blood, and it was the method used by the Gu mother. Bai Feng had seen it in the Gu technique manual that she cultivated before. But that was almost at the top of all Gu techniques. It wasn't something she could use right now. It was also not something that an ordinary person could use. If the other party's strength was not abnormally strong, then the other party's understanding of the Gu arts had already reached the core, and could move at will. Chapter 1333. What made Bai Feng even more terrified was the fact that this reverse Gu technique required a person who was previously infected with the Gu as a medium to use it. In other words, Hu Fei didn't die. And this reverse Gu technique was also made for him. Family who has such a person secretly protecting him. Bai Feng thought of the voodoo sect that she destroyed and hurriedly told Bai Chongfeng to call back the people who were sent to family Hu. Bai Chongfeng didn't even have the time to ask Bai Feng what this had to do with family Hu. Family Hu and his son were both terminally ill, paralyzed and on the verge of death. How could they have caused her to become like this? Bai Chongfeng subconsciously thought that Bai Feng was trying to hide the fact that she cultivated an evil technique and her strength had regressed. But pushing the blame onto the Hu clan was also a little too outrageous. He frowned and was about to speak when a series of hurried footsteps suddenly sounded from outside. What followed was a panicked voice that made a report. Not good. Family head. Family whose people are here. The guard who came to report was panting as he ran, and there was a look of disbelief on his face. When he stepped through the door, he suddenly staggered and fell to the ground. Then, with an anxious and frightened expression, he said to Bai Chongfeng, "Family head, not good." Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei seemed to be safe and sound. Not only that, they also invited many families in Wildland City and said that they want to expose our Bai family's true colors. Family head, you should quickly go and take a look. What? Bai Chongfeng suddenly stood up from his chair when he heard the guard's report. He couldn't believe his ears. Bai Feng straightened her back as well. She struggled to get up from the ground and almost collapsed several times before she managed to get up. Father. Family who came prepared. Her face was gloomy. What we did back then should have already been discovered by them. Now that Hu Fei has woken up, he must have already told Hu Zhongtian and Hu Yenyang everything he eavesdropped on. Bai Feng was more worried about the mysterious person who was controlling the Gu Poison Queen from behind the scenes. The person who had destroyed the voodoo sect must have obtained a lot of evidence against her. Fortunately, she had always been very cautious. Although those things in the voodoo sect could let them know that she was the one behind the voodoo sect, they couldn't use them as evidence to accuse her. At that time, if family whose people were to take out the evidence, she would be able to turn the tables on them. However, those people who were controlled by the Gu worms, if they were to testify together, it would be difficult for him to deal with them. But luckily, that person was trying to restore Hu Fei's strength. He had used the essence of the Gu Mother. Now, the Gu Mother should be unable to control the Gu worms in those people's bodies. As for those people, in order to preserve their lives, they would absolutely not take the initiative to come out and confess when the Gu worms were not acting strangely. As Bai Feng thought about this, she felt much more at ease. As long as those things were not exposed, family who alone would not be able to do anything to them. Father, let's go out. If family who wants to avenge themselves, it depends on whether they have the ability to do so. Since they came to our door themselves, then this time, we'll completely eliminate them. We can't let them leave. Bai Feng's eyes were full of murderous intent. Hu Zhongtian and the others knew everything. This family can't be left alive. Chapter 1334. At first, Bai Feng was worried that the person who was secretly protecting family who would make a move. But now, it seemed that the other party was just gifted in the art of witchcraft. In terms of strength, they might not be that powerful. Otherwise, family who would not have needed to come to the Bai family to settle the score. They would have needed to invite the other families in Wild City to come as well. Unfortunately, the Bai family now was no longer the Bai family that needed to rely on family who to survive. Family who was no longer the leader of the middle-ranked families in Wild City. They could enter the ranks of the top families at any time. Bai Feng sneered. How could the people from the other families in Wild City, whom Hu Zhongtian had invited, stand on their side and oppose them? Hu Zhongtian was really old and useless. Hu Fei, on the other hand, was so naive because she had just woken up from her coma. As for Hu Yenyang, she really should go out and see how she had been all these years. After all of this was because of her, wasn't it? Hu Yenyang could not defeat her in the past, but could she still defeat her now? As Bai Feng thought of this, her heart suddenly filled with pride. Even the pain of losing her cultivation was no longer so unbearable. The pain and despair that she had just experienced. Family who would have to go through all of it. And the person who was secretly helping family who reverse her witchcraft and using the mother of the witchcraft to devour her. She also wanted family who to give her an explanation. By then, no matter what, she would capture the other party and force them to hand over the mother of the witchcraft and restore her cultivation. Bai Feng gritted her teeth as she thought of this. All right. Wash up and change your clothes. We will go out immediately. Bai Chongfeng said. He was a little panicked at first, but he quickly calmed down after hearing Bai Feng's words. That's right, the Bai family was no longer the Bai family of the past. Family who was also no longer the family who of the past. Hu Zhongtian could forget about trying to take advantage of him. The worst that could happen was that the news of that thing would be announced to the world. He had already sent the news to the Hua family in advance. When Hua Ting and the others arrived, the Bai clan would still benefit from that item. As for Hu Zhongtian and the others, They could only wait to lose their lives in the hands of the Bai clan. Thinking like this, Bai Chongfeng immediately opened the door and welcomed Hu Zhongtian and the others inside. At the same time, in a remote corner of the Bai family's courtyard, two figures suddenly leaped over the courtyard wall and appeared there.
Master, what are we doing here?
Chu Lingfeng looked at Luo Qingtong beside him with a confused expression. Grandfather and mother were still at the entrance of the Bai family. Why did Master bring her here? Were they here to ambush the Bai family? As Chu Lingfeng thought of this, he became excited. He was also rubbing his fists, ready to fight at any time. Although he was an idiot, he was extremely filial. However, when he found out that the sufferings that Yan Yang had suffered all these years and the calamities that Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei had suffered were all caused by Bai Feng and the Bai family, he immediately hated them to the core. He hated that he could not get rid of them as soon as possible. However, Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, causing him to be stunned.
Let's go and save them.
Save a group of people who could consign the Bai family to eternal damnation. The corners of Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. The blood-red color in her eyes flashed and she quickly locked onto the place she was looking for.
Let's go.
Let's go. Luo Qingtong led Chu Lingfeng into the inner courtyard of the Bai family. Chapter 1335. At the same time, in the Bai family's martial arts arena, Family Hu and many other family clans were invited into the Bai family's residence and were given seats in the martial arts arena. Hu Zhongtian, you said that you wanted to expose Family Hu's conspiracy and that it had something to do with us. You're not lying to us, are you? All the small and medium-sized family clans in Wild City were invited over by Hu Zhongtian's letter. Some of them did not want to come, but Hu Zhongtian said in the letter that they were only invited to be witnesses and that they were not required to deal with the Bai family together. Moreover, many of the things that the Bai family had done also implicated their family clans. These people did not believe it at first, but Hu Zhongtian's letter contained some secrets that only their family clans knew. As a result, these people could not sit still and came to the Bai family's residence to see what Family Hu was up to. Was what Hu Zhongtian said true or not? Or did he secretly gather the information and deliberately say that he wanted to use them to deal with the Bai family? The group of people looked very unfriendly. They did not believe Hu Zhongtian from the beginning, and now the Bai family was so magnanimous and opened the door to let them in. Some of them began to suspect Hu Zhongtian. They wondered if the other party had deliberately lured them here to put pressure on the Bai family. After all, Family Hu was not as powerful as the Bai family. If Hu Zhongtian and the others wanted to deal with the Bai family, it was impossible for them to do so with their own strength. Thinking that they might be used as a tool, these family clansmen felt a wave of displeasure in their hearts. His tone when speaking to Hu Zhongtian was not that polite. Why are you so anxious? Since I called you here, I naturally have my own plans. The Bai family's true colors will be exposed. I will tell you what they did to your family later. But now, I want to settle the score with the Bai family for what they did to Family Hu. Hu Zhongtian said coldly as he looked at these family clans. He had already seen through the true colors of these family clans in Wild City. In the far west wilderness, the law of the jungle was the most serious. In the past, Family Hu was considered to be strong and powerful, and they were able to protect a region. Many of the clans here were like the Bai clan in the past, receiving Family Hu's favor and protection. But now, after receiving Family Hu's letter, they immediately came over and expressed that there were only two families who stood by Family Hu's side. Hu Zhongtian looked at the two patriarchs of the small families standing beside him. Both of them had received favors from Family Hu when they were young. One was because of Hu Zhongtian's help, which allowed him to preserve his clan's foundation and survive in this wildland city where the strong preyed on the weak. The other was when he was outside exploring and was attacked by demonic beasts and was saved by Hu Fei. It was just a matter of lifting a finger. Hu Fei himself did not even remember such a thing. The other party, on the other hand, had established his own clan after becoming famous. Now that Family Hu had sent him a letter, he immediately rushed over without hesitation. Patriarch Family Hu, a drop of water should be repaid with a gushing spring. I am indebted to young Master Hu Fei for saving my life, and I am willing to do my best for Family Hu. Chapter 1336. In the past, they didn't know about the relationship between Family Hu and the Bai family. They also didn't know that family who had been set up by the Bai family. Now that they knew, they couldn't just stand by and watch. They would repay the debt of saving their lives with their entire family. If not for family who, they wouldn't have the foundation they had now. Right and wrong, these two people were very clear about it. Apart from them, no one else was willing to stand on family whose side. If not for the letter that Luo Qingtong had Hu Zhongtian write to them and the secrets that she had obtained from the voodoo sect, not only would these people not come, they would even hand the letter to the Bai family to take credit for it. Hu Zhongtian glanced indifferently at the impatient family members, then turned his gaze to the Bai family members who were approaching from a short distance away. Bai Chongfeng and Bai Feng walked at the very front, leading many experts of the Bai family in a majestic and imposing manner as they made their way towards the training grounds. They opened the door wide and welcomed these people in. Their goal was to capture and kill family whose people in front of these people. Perhaps, they could even kill them with a borrowed knife. Then, even if that man suddenly returned and found out about Hu Yenyang, they would still have something to say. Bai Chongfeng and the rest had this thought in their minds. Suddenly, their gazes became even more fierce as they walked towards the training field. Family who was really a case of not taking the road to heaven and barging into hell. Since they themselves couldn't wait to die, then they would die. Then let's shed all pretense of cordiality. Bai Chongfeng and the others arrived at the martial arts practice field. In an instant, the voices of those who were still questioning Hu Zhongtian, and even those who were disdainful towards him, all stopped. Family head Bai. Young mistress Bai. Those middle-ranked family members were the first to greet Bai Chongfeng and Bai Feng. These people weren't necessarily afraid of the Bai family. But behind Bai Feng was the top-ranked Hua family. They were not to be trifled with. Everyone still had to give them some face. But speaking of which, in the past, the Hua family was family whose in-laws. As for Hua Ting, if Hu Yenyang had not been involved in that incident, he would not have been able to survive. The position of young madam of the Hua family would most likely not belong to Bai Feng. With that thought in mind, the expressions on everyone's faces became subtle. They looked at Hu Yenyang, who had been following Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei without saying a word since the beginning. It was as if she didn't exist at all. No one had noticed her before. At this moment, because of Bai Feng's appearance, everyone was reminded of her. He thought of this young lady who was once a beauty in Wildland City, who was known as the flower of a famous family. If it hadn't been for that incident, Hu Yenyang would have married into the Hua family and become the young madam of the Hua family. However, they had always thought that Hu Yenyang had died outside. But from the looks of it now, he didn't seem to be having a bad time outside. As everyone thought this, their gazes involuntarily swept past Hu Yenyang's aura. Even though she was standing beside Hu Zhongtian and Hu Fei without saying a word, Hu Yenyang's aura was actually not inferior to Hu Zhongtian's. No, that kind of strategic and authoritative aura was even above Hu Zhongtian's. How was this the aura of someone who had fled the far western wastelands in dire straits? Chapter 1337. At that moment, she clenched her fists tightly under her sleeves. This woman, Hu Yenyang, was pregnant and had been hunted down by her. She had almost escaped from the western wastelands with her life hanging by a thread. Bai Feng had thought that even if she had returned, she would have been tormented by life and would have aged like an old woman. Who would have thought that she would have such a mature charm? Furthermore, she now had a heroic and noble air that had not been there before. At this moment, Yenyang was even more charming than before. As Bai Feng watched, she was so jealous that she almost broke her fingernails. She had been the young mistress of the Hua family for more than 10 years, but her aura could not even compare to Hu Yenyang. How could she tolerate this? The other party was just an idiot who had once been trampled on by her like a dog. How could she possibly suppress her? As Bai Feng thought this, she immediately lowered her eyes to hide the coldness and jealousy in her eyes. Her eyes were full of smiles as she looked at Hu Yenyang. Yenyang, I didn't think that it would really be you. When my father told me that you had returned, I thought that he was lying to me. But why didn't you come to see me when you've returned? Also, what's going on? Bai Feng was shocked. She looked at Hu Yenyang with a puzzled, doubtful, aggrieved and hurt look in her eyes. However, there was no hesitation or panic due to a guilty conscience. Bai Feng had framed Yenyang and pretended to care for her after she had lost her virginity.
She had even used this as an opportunity to climb up the Hua family, and had schemed to make Hua Ting notice her and fall in love with her. She had even been able to twist the truth in front of the man who had taken Yan Yang's virginity and gloss over the matter. How could her scheming and shrewdness be just a little? How could she have revealed any flaws in front of others? Her performance had instantly bewitched everyone present. The group of family members who had been invited by Hu Zhongtian looked at Bai Feng's performance. They began to suspect that the things that Hu Zhongtian had mentioned in his letter could not have been groundless, right? After all, when Bai Feng had married Hua Ting, it could be said that she had snatched Hu Yenyang's fiancé. But in the end, it was Hu Yenyang who acted inappropriately and did something wrong. Could it be that Hu Yenyang was not satisfied with her life outside, so she came back to snatch Hua Ting back? If this was the case, then what Hu Zhongtian said before about the Bai family's persecution was probably a lie. He was deliberately trying to frame Bai Feng and the Bai family. With that thought in mind, everyone looked at family Hu and Hu Yenyang with disdain. It was true that once he gained the upper hand, he would bite back. Bai Feng had helped Hu Yenyang a lot when she was in trouble. If she had not stood up for her, how would Bai Feng have known Hua Ting, the young master of the Hua family? Speaking of which, Hu Yenyang's fiancé was her own doing. What qualifications do they have to bite back at the Bai family? With that thought in mind, everyone looked at Hu Yenyang and the others with even more disdain. They did not know that the Bai family had secretly forced Hu Zhongtian to hand over the map of the Holy King's tomb. They also did not know that when Bai Feng had said that she had helped Hu Yenyang, she had used her as a stepping stone to cross paths with Hua Ting. If that was not the case, how could she have become the young madam of the Hua family? Bai Feng sensed the change in everyone's gaze and instantly smiled smugly in her heart. Just based on these Hu clan people, they wanted to fight with him? She had casually said a few words, and everyone was on her side. Chapter 1338. Bai Feng was secretly pleased with herself, but she did not show it on her face. She looked at Hu Yenyang with a puzzled look on her face. Lady Yan, are you blaming me for snatching Ah Ting away? But, it was because of what happened to you that year. He and I. If Bai Feng's previous words were to drive a wedge between the various family clans and Hu Zhongtian and the rest. But now, her words were like a vicious stab to their hearts. It was a vicious stab to the hearts of Hu Zhongtian, Hu Fei, and Hu Yenyang. What was the most unforgettable thing for Hu Zhongtian and the rest? It was that Hu Yenyang had been falsely accused of having an affair before marriage and had gotten pregnant before marriage. She had become the laughingstock and the target of disdain in the wild city. The family whose many years of suffering had all been because of this incident. Bai Feng was the one who had committed this incident. Now that she had said it in such a tone, her words vaguely implied that it was because of Hu Yenyang that the Hua family and Hua Ting did not want Hu Yenyang, so that she could become the young mistress of the Hua family. If Hu Yenyang, Hu Zhongtian, and the others had really come here with resentment in their hearts, Bai Feng's words would definitely cause them to lose all sense of reason and attack them without regard for anything else. Then, they would be able to openly capture and kill Hu Zhongtian and the rest in front of so many family clans. They would even incite those family clans who wanted to curry favor with them and make amends for their mistakes to kill Hu Zhongtian and the rest with a borrowed knife. They would completely push the matter away from the Bai family. However, even though Bai Feng's plan was well thought out, Hu Yenyang and the rest did not pay any attention to her. They had resentment in their hearts. They had hatred. But they had received instructions from Luo Qingtong. Even if they did not want to implicate Luo Qingtong, they would not act rashly. Bai Feng, do you think that after Hua Ting married you, I would still care about a blind man like that? Hu Yenyang looked at Bai Feng and said mockingly. Bai Feng was still the same. She would use Hua Ting to provoke her. She had once cried so miserably in front of him. She said that she had no choice but to fall in love with Hua Ting. She wanted him to fulfill her wish. At that time, Yan Yang's chastity had been taken away, and she was pregnant with a child. She was even reprimanded as a slut. How miserable and difficult was her life. Hearing this news was like a bolt from the blue. She truly loved Hua Ting. Otherwise, she would not have been in such pain and despair after finding out that her innocence had been tainted and that she was pregnant with his child. No one knew how much pain Yan Yang was in at that time. However, she still tearfully told Bai Feng that she was willing to fulfill her wish. When Yan Yang didn't know the truth, she naively thought that Bai Feng Lai told her this because he felt sorry for her.
However, from the looks of it now, Bai Feng was here to provoke her on purpose. If it wasn't for the fact that the man who took her virginity back then had exceeded Bai Feng's control and imagination, causing her to make a mistake in her plan, he was afraid that she would leave him in the desolate city for the rest of his life to live a lowly life, enjoying the stimulation and humiliation she brought him.
Bai Feng, you really have a vicious mind and a vicious scheme. Yan Yang's eyes were cold. When she had returned to the desolate city, she had already let go of everything. The most important people in her life were her master, Chu Lingfeng, Hu Zhongtian, and Hu Fei. Chapter 1339. Back then, she had been too foolish and naive. She had only been filled with self-pity for losing her chastity and being unworthy of Hua Ting.
Now that she thought about it, if that man had even the slightest bit of sincerity and pity for her, he would have stood up for her when she had been forced into such a state by the Hua family.
After all, everyone could choose not to believe her. He could not. So if he is heartless, I will stop. Furthermore, he had married a woman like Bai Feng. Hu Yenyang had already cut off her last bit of delusions towards him. Bai Feng had still wanted to use Hua Ting to attack her. She was simply dreaming. Hu Yenyang no longer cared about Hua Ting. When Bai Feng heard her words, she was stunned at first. Then, waves of anger uncontrollably surfaced in her mind. How could she not care about Hua Ting? Bai Feng had fought with her for her entire life. She had been most pleased with herself for having successfully schemed against Hua Ting and obtaining the identity of the Hua family's young mistress. If Hu Yenyang no longer cared about Hua Ting, what else would Bai Feng have to show off in front of her? How would she be able to see her miserable and despairing expression? Bai Feng's heart was filled with malevolence. She clenched her fists fiercely, but the smile on her face was forced and gentle. Yenyang, I know that you are saying this in a fit of anger. You are angry that I got together with Hua Ting, but we really had no choice. Hu Yenyang watched her flawless performance and secretly mocked her in her heart. No wonder she had been so miserably deceived back then. Bai Feng really had the potential to be a best actress. Bai Feng, you don't have to say so much. It's no use trying to provoke me. Back then, you schemed against me and caused me to lose my chastity. Then, you harmed my elder brother and caused him to be in a coma and bedridden for more than 10 years. You even bribed second elder of the family whose faction to tamper with my father's medicine and caused him to fall into a terminal illness. Do you admit to all these? As Hu Yenyang spoke, she instructed the people around her to throw all the information they had gathered in front of Bai Feng and the others. Bai Feng's expression darkened when she realized that she could no longer provoke Hu Yenyang. Her previous expression instantly turned cold. Yenyang, I respect you for being my sister in the past, and because you're in a difficult situation, I don't have the heart to be too harsh on you. But you've crossed the line. She stared coldly at Hu Yenyang. It's fine if you hate me. Why are you dragging the Bai family into this? You even dragged so many people to be buried with your family. Who? Do you know that I'm not only the eldest daughter of the Bai family, but also the young madam of the Hua family? They were implicated by you to deal with me. Even if the Bai family doesn't pursue the matter, how can the Hua family let it go? It's one thing for your family who to court death, but you're dragging others down with you. Yenyang, I really misjudged you. You are actually such a venomous woman. Bai Feng scolded with a disappointed expression. As soon as she said that, the expressions of the people around her changed. These people suddenly thought of something. They had come to the Bai clan this time. Even if they didn't do anything, they were only here to watch. However, in the eyes of the Hua family, they might be seen as colluding with family who to coerce the Bai family. With such a crime on their backs, how could they have a good time in the wildland city? As the crowd thought about it, they instantly became anxious and angry. Immediately, they glared viciously at family Hu and the others. It was all Hu Zhongtian's fault. They had caused so much trouble for them. Chapter 1340. Translations, everyone, Hu Zhongtian and his family have gone overboard. It's fine if they want to deal with the Bai family, but they even tricked us into being their tool. We can't let this go on. Come on. Let's tie them up and hand them over to the Bai family. Otherwise, we'll be implicated. As this voice rang out, the surrounding family clansmen seemed to have come to a realization. They looked at Hu Zhongtian and his family with a different expression. That's right, if they could capture Hu Zhongtian and his family and hand them over to the Bai family, they would be able to clear their names of colluding with family who to coerce the Bai family. Hu Zhongtian and his family shouldn't blame them for being too cruel. They were the ones who had gone overboard. They had tricked him and the others into participating in the grudge between them and the Bai family. In order to prevent themselves from being implicated, they had no choice but to deal with them. Family who had brought all of this upon themselves. As the family clansmen thought of this, they immediately closed in on Hu Zhongtian and his family with cold gazes. Seeing this, the two small family clan heads who were standing beside Hu Zhongtian and his family quickly asked them to leave. Bai Feng, on the other hand, had a smug smile on her face. She hid it very well, but the coldness in her eyes was as if she had been dipped in poison. Family who had wanted to use these people to create public opinion and force them to submit, but they didn't know that their setup had only benefited the Bai family. After so many years, Hu Yenyang still hadn't made any progress. She was still as stupid and brainless as before. Did they think that they could deal with them with the little evidence they had? Did they think that they were still family who had hundreds of people at their beck and call? Unfortunately, the one who held the initiative was their Bai clan. It was her Bai Feng. So what if she said something casually and the rumor that she had persecuted family who was true? Would anyone believe them? Would anyone go against her and the Bai family because of them? The smile in Bai Feng's eyes was cold. She discreetly glanced in the direction where the inciting words had come from. Over there, a person was quietly retreating, leaving the place where the group of people were. Those were the people that Bai Feng had arranged to infiltrate the group of people from the various clans and instigate them to attack Hu Zhongtian and the others. She was going to watch as Hu Zhongtian and the others were forced into a dead end. After all, it was easy to make mistakes in a chaotic battle. Was that not the case? Bai Feng had already arranged everything. When those people made their move, the two sides would be in a chaotic battle. The experts of the Bai family would step in at the right time to mediate. At that time, if they accidentally killed Hu Zhongtian and the others, how could they blame the Bai family? After all, the people of the Bai family had good intentions. The look in Bai Feng's eyes was as cold as a venomous snake. She lowered her head and lowered her eyes, restraining the intense coldness and murderous intent in her eyes. She gently stroked her hair in a seemingly graceful manner. Hu Yenyang, who had troubled her for more than 10 years, could finally be completely eliminated. From now on, she no longer had to worry about that man returning to Wildland City one day and finding out the truth of what had happened all those years ago. Because the truth was about to be completely erased by her. Bai Feng's eyes were smug and cold. At this moment, Chapter 1340. Translations, everyone, Hu Zhongtian and his family have gone overboard. It's fine if they want to deal with the Bai family, but they even tricked us into being their tool. We can't let this go on. Come on. Let's tie them up and hand them over to the Bai family. Otherwise, we'll be implicated. As this voice rang out, the surrounding family clansmen seemed to have come to a realization. They looked at Hu Zhongtian and his family with a different expression. That's right, if they could capture Hu Zhongtian and his family and hand them over to the Bai family, they would be able to clear their names of colluding with family who to coerce the Bai family. Hu Zhongtian and his family shouldn't blame them for being too cruel. They were the ones who had gone overboard. They had tricked him and the others into participating in the grudge between them and the Bai family. In order to prevent themselves from being implicated, they had no choice but to deal with them. Family who had brought all of this upon themselves. As the family clansmen thought of this, they immediately closed in on Hu Zhongtian and his family with cold gazes. Seeing this, the two small family clan heads who were standing beside Hu Zhongtian and his family quickly asked them to leave. Bai Feng, on the other hand, had a smug smile on her face. She hid it very well, but the coldness in her eyes was as if she had been dipped in poison. Family who had wanted to use these people to create public opinion and force them to submit, but they didn't know that their setup had only benefited the Bai family. After so many years, Hu Yenyang still hadn't made any progress. She was still as stupid and brainless as before. Did they think that they could deal with them with the little evidence they had? Did they think that they were still family who had hundreds of people at their beck and call? Unfortunately, the one who held the initiative was their Bai clan. It was her Bai Feng. So what if she said something casually and the rumor that she had persecuted family who was true? Would anyone believe them? Would anyone go against her and the Bai family because of them? The smile in Bai Feng's eyes was cold. She discreetly glanced in the direction where the inciting words had come from. Over there, a person was quietly retreating, leaving the place where the group of people were. Those were the people that Bai Feng had arranged to infiltrate the group of people from the various clans and instigate them to attack Hu Zhongtian and the others. She was going to watch as Hu Zhongtian and the others were forced into a dead end. After all, it was easy to make mistakes in a chaotic battle. Was that not the case? Bai Feng had already arranged everything. When those people made their move, the two sides would be in a chaotic battle. The experts of the Bai family would step in at the right time to mediate. He had even helped her block countless attempts to probe her both openly and covertly. A title in the Black Field was Shopkeeper Yen. Did Bai Feng think that it was so easy to obtain? Hu Yenyang's eyes were cold. Almost in an instant, the enmity that the other clans had towards them was turned into suspicion towards Bai Feng and the others. When these people heard Hu Yenyang's words and heard the sounds coming from the Bai family's rear courtyard, they immediately turned to look at Bai Feng and the others. Could they really be like what Hu Zhongtian and the others had said and had done something similar to what family Hu had done to their clans? Chapter 1342. After all, Hu Zhongtian and the others had exposed what the Bai family had done to family Hu. It was a little creepy. After all, Bai Feng and Hu Yenyang had been sisters for so many years. Many of them knew very well how well Hu Yenyang had treated Bai Feng back then. If Hu Yenyang and the others had really wronged the Bai family and Bai Feng, then family Hu was in the wrong. He was too greedy and couldn't bear to see the Bai family living a good life. However, if what Hu Yenyang and the others had said was true, then Bai Feng and the Bai family were really cruel and unscrupulous. Moreover, Bai Feng and the Bai family had pretended to be wronged and humiliated in front of them. If all of this was really an act, then the other party's schemes were really too vicious. After all, he had been able to disguise himself for more than 10 years without being exposed. He had harmed the Hu clan to such an extent, and when the other party came knocking on his door, he had even retaliated. He did not feel the slightest bit of guilt, and even wanted to kill the Hu clan. It was not enough to describe Bai Feng and the Bai family as beasts. It should be said that they were worse than beasts. As everyone thought this, they looked at Bai Feng and the others with bewilderment. Bai Feng and the others didn't know what Hu Yenyang and the others were up to. How could there be any evidence in their backyard? Especially Bai Feng. She knew very well in her heart. Everything that she had done to these families was done by the voodoo sect's influence. In the entire Bai family, not to mention the others, even Bai Chongfeng and the others didn't know about her relationship with the voodoo sect. They also didn't know about the things that she had done to these families. How could there be any evidence left? Bai Feng's brows furrowed coldly, but soon relaxed. Hu Yenyang must be bluffing to trick her. Did she think that she would be able to set up a trap and confuse her just because she didn't know who had sneaked into the backyard and caused a commotion? What a joke! Hu Yenyang had indeed improved a little. However, she didn't expect that Bai Feng had always been so meticulous and wouldn't give them a chance to deal with her. Let's see how they're going to shoot themselves in the foot. With that thought in mind, Bai Feng replied coldly. Fine. I'll let you take a look. She was very confident that there was no evidence in the backyard of the Bai family. Even if Hu Yenyang deliberately left some evidence in there by family, she still had a way to expose the other party. At that time, the ones seeking their own deaths would be Hu Yenyang and the others. If the people from the clans who were with them found out that they had been deceived by them, in order to curry favor with the Bai family and clear the suspicion that they followed family Hu to coerce the Bai family, wouldn't these people tear apart family Hu's people alive? At that time, it would save the Bai family a lot of effort. With this thought in mind, Bai Feng's heart grew even more proud and cold. The group headed to the inner courtyard of the Bai family. At the same time, in the depths of the Bai family's inner courtyard, where the loud noise had come from, Luo Qingtong stood at the bottom of the 100-meter-deep dungeon and looked at the entrance of the dungeon that she had blasted open. She immediately raised her head and looked at the group of people behind her with an indifferent expression. Remember what I've told you before. If you want to leave the Bai family alive and take revenge on the Bai family, then repeat everything I've said in full detail. And these things, I'll give them to you as well. When the time comes, take them out together. Chapter 1343. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she sensed the auras of the Bai family and other family clans approaching. Narrowing her eyes, she pulled Chu Lingfeng and left. Behind her, a group of people who had been tortured to the point of being unrecognizable and covered in injuries took the things she gave them. Then, they all looked towards the direction of the outer courtyard with hatred in their eyes. Then, one by one, they ran out crying, "Help! Help!" One by one, they rushed out of the dungeon. All of them had injuries on their bodies. Those injuries covered almost all of their bodies. With one look, one could tell that those injuries were not caused by ordinary punishments. The exit to the ground level of the dungeon was wide open. Those people ran out crying. Soon, they attracted the attention of the people who had entered the inner courtyard of the Bai family. Over there. Hu Yenyang's face was cold as she pointed in the direction of the crying sounds. In fact, she was still a little apprehensive. Luo Qingtong had told them not to worry about anything else. They only needed to invite all the big and small family clans in Wildland City. It would be best if they could invite all the family clans who were related to the voodoo sect. At that time, she would make sure that everything that Bai Feng and the voodoo sect had done would be exposed under the sun. However, Hu Yenyang knew that in order to restore Luo Qingtong's cultivation, Luo Qingtong had used the essence of the Gu Poison Queen. Now that the Gu Poison Queen had fallen into a deep slumber, it would take a long time for it to recover. It was unlikely that it would be able to control the Gu Poison Queen's Gu Poison Queen and make them stand out to accuse Bai Feng. Moreover, didn't Mistress still need the voodoo sect's arrangements? Wasn't she going to give them to Su Yu and the others to continue using? If those people were exposed, they would certainly be able to deal a blow to Bai Feng. However, they would not be able to do anything to the Bai family. Moreover, the gains would not make up for the losses. Hu Yenyang had no idea what Luo Qingtong would do. However, her trust in the young girl made her believe in Luo Qingtong without any hesitation. Everyone could also hear the cries coming from within. Following Hu Yenyang's finger, all of them immediately rushed in that direction. On the other hand, Bai Feng and the others had a bad feeling in their hearts. This was especially true for Bai Feng. She originally thought that Hu Yenyang and the others were just bluffing and setting up a trap to deceive her. Who would have thought that after entering the inner court, there would actually be a wave of cries? There were even cries for help. A bad premonition suddenly rose in Bai Feng's heart. She had a feeling that something bad had happened to her. What's going on? How could there be such cries in the backyard of the Bai family? What are you hiding from me? She glared angrily at the Bai family members behind her. The latter and the others were also stunned. They had no idea what was going on. Suddenly, the expression of one of the Bai family elders changed drastically. Then he said, "I remember now. This is the place where the young master imprisoned those people." As his voice rang out, the surrounding Bai clan members seemed to have thought of something, and their expressions became somewhat unnatural. Bai Jintong's fetishes were no secret in the Bai family. Many of the powerful cultivators of the Bai family, who were present, knew about it. It was just that it was too difficult to talk about, so they usually did not mention it. Chapter 1344. As for Bai Jintong's matter, because Bai Feng was a married woman, no one had mentioned it to her at all. Naturally, she did not know about it. Thus, she asked coldly. How could the experts of the Bai family answer? Even Bai Chongfeng felt a little awkward. It's nothing, it's just some petty hobbies. In the future, I will definitely make him change and forbid him from touching it again. However, even if those people escape, it won't cause any harm to our Bai family. At most, our reputation will be damaged. It's nothing, Bai Chongfeng said, and everyone else followed suit. When Bai Feng heard their words and thought about the word, imprisoned, and the cries of those people, she already had some guesses in her heart. She roughly guessed that it was some private matter that was not worth mentioning. If that was the case, there was nothing to be afraid of. Even if Hu Yenyang had rescued them, so what? What kind of impact could those people cause to the Bai family? At most, Bai Jintong's reputation would be damaged. And the Bai family's reputation of being incompetent would also be damaged a little. It was not a big deal at all. As Bai Feng thought about it, she did not take it to heart. However, why did Hu Yenyang and the rest say that there was evidence in the backyard? As Bai Feng thought about it, her face suddenly changed. Not good. Her face was filled with shock, and in an instant, her entire body was like a whirlwind as she flew towards the direction of the crying sound. Quick! Kill all those people. Don't let them speak. Her voice was urgent and her movements were fast, but the people of the Bai family did not know what was going on. What's going on? Why is young Miss so panicked? There was naturally a reason why Bai Feng was so panicked. She suddenly remembered that these people were rescued by Hu Yenyang and the rest. And these people were imprisoned in the Bai family. The people they came into contact with were the direct descendants of the family like Bai Jintang. In this way, it was possible that they had come into contact with some secret. If Bai Feng wanted to deal with the Bai family, she would definitely tell them about the poison sex plan to deal with the Bai family after rescuing these people. She would let them accuse the Bai family. In this way, the Bai family would not be able to defend themselves. Damn it! How could she have forgotten about this? Bai Feng's expression was extremely anxious. She quickly rushed to the place where the cries were coming from. She did not have time to order the Bai family guards to kill those who had escaped from the dungeon. A series of mournful cries came from the mouths of those people. Save us! The Bai family wants to kill us. We discovered the Bai clan's plot against the entire wild city, but before we could tell anyone, we were captured and brought to this place. She was even toyed with by that beast, Bai Jintang. Save us! We have evidence. As they spoke, a series of scrolls that were almost crushed into pieces were suddenly thrown into the air. In an instant, the sky was filled with books and scrolls written in black and white. Shua! One of the patriarchs of the middle-ranked clan who was the first to arrive at the exit of the dungeon was the first to receive a scroll. He raised his head to look at what was recorded and described in it. Chapter 1345. This. On the scroll, everything that the Bai family had done to the various families in the wild city was recorded in detail. Many of them were mysteries that the various families did not understand. Luo Qingtong had modified these things based on what the voodoo sect had done to the various families. With her eye technique, it was extremely easy for her to analyze and fabricate these dossiers. Every single one of these files was enough to pass off as genuine. Luo Qingtong had even taken into consideration the identities of these people in the dungeon, and made corresponding changes to the age of these files and the degree of yellowing of the pages. She wanted to prove the authenticity of these files. Even if Bai Feng were to look at them personally, she would not be able to tell if they were real or fake. Not only that, Luo Qingtong had also added a lot of things that were not done by the voodoo sect but had a great impact on the various families. In short, she had pushed all the blame onto the Bai family and Bai Feng. Didn't Bai Feng like to scheme and frame others? Now, Luo Qingtong wanted her to have a taste of what it was like to be framed. Bastard! Our third granduncle was suddenly killed when he was about to break through. So it was the Bai family who did it. The patriarch who was the first to receive the dossier was so angry that he angrily shouted after reading it. After him, many other people also snatched the dossier and immediately started reading it. When they read it, their hearts and lungs were about to explode. A group of elite disciples from our family went out to explore and did not return for a day and a night. We thought that they were killed by demonic beasts. We did not expect the Bai family to be the culprit. There is also a new batch of resources from our shop. We went through a lot to get it. In the end, they were robbed. We thought it was the Chen family who did it. We did not expect the Bai family to be the culprit. The people of the various clans looked at the records of the various events that had been recorded. The Bai family was behind almost all the major families' losses. It was no wonder that the Bai family had developed so quickly over the years. They had rushed from the smallest family to the top of the middle-ranked families. They thought that it was because they had a connection with the Hua family. They did not expect that it was all because of the contributions of these families. The Bai family might be able to take advantage of the situation by belittling their family's strength. Or perhaps, the Bai family had seized their resources and used them to increase their strength. Under such circumstances, how could the Bai family's strength not increase? With that thought in mind, everyone was so angry that their blood was about to overflow. When they thought about how they had just spoken up for the Bai family and wanted to deal with the family who, they felt like they had been toyed with and humiliated like monkeys. Damn you, Bai clan! Well done, Bai Feng. Bitch. With a tearing sound, the head of a middle-ranked clan, whose strength was about the same as the Bai clan, couldn't help but tear the file in his hand. Their clan's strength was originally above the Bai clan's, but because of the Bai clan's series of secret plots, the clan was almost divided, and their vitality was greatly damaged. Only then did the Bai clan catch up. And according to the records, all of this was Bai Feng's plan. This slut was simply hateful. Following that family head, another group of people tore apart the dossiers in their hands. Anyway, there were plenty of dossiers on the ground. Even if they tore them to vent their anger, they were not afraid that they would not have enough evidence to deal with the Bai clan. Bai Feng. Bai Chang Feng. What else do you have to say? Chapter 1346. Bai Chang Feng and the others did not know what was going on. Bai Feng, on the other hand, already knew that things had gone south when she heard the screams of those people. When the scrolls with black and white words were scattered all over the place, she grabbed one of them and read it. She was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Some of the things on the scrolls were indeed done by the voodoo sect, but they were said to be done by the Bai family. That was not all. The problem was that some of the things that she did not ask the voodoo sect to do were also blamed on her and the Bai family. Bai Feng had been scheming against people all her life. She had almost caused family who to go bankrupt. She did not expect that at this time, she would be schemed against so badly. From family who finding all the big and small families in Wildland City, to the people who imprisoned by Jintang in the dungeon, to these scrolls that were scattered all over the place. All of these things, all of them without Bai Feng noticing, had left her with no room for retaliation and no room for retreat. Bai Feng had no idea that the other party had set up a trap for her. By the time she realized it, she had already been pushed all the way to the bottom and had lost everything. She was like a gambler who had a good hand and thought that she would definitely win. In the end, before she could react, the other party had already played their trump card. They had won against her. Bai Feng's hands were trembling as she held the scrolls. She did not believe that Yen Yang and the others were the ones who came up with this plan. It's him. It's the person who secretly helped Yen Yang and the others. The person who knows how to use goo. Bai Feng's expression was ferocious as she roared silently in her heart. Only that person could know so many things about the voodoo sect. He could even write down the things that were not done by the voodoo sect so realistically. Since the other party could control the goo mother, he could naturally obtain all kinds of secret information from the spies in the big families who were controlled by the goo mother. Bastard! Even though Bai Feng's heart was filled with hatred, she had to admit that the other party's move was indeed very good. It not only dealt a blow to the Bai family, but it also did not expose the spies in the big families. The other party's scheming was above hers. Hu Yenyang and the others actually had such a person helping them. Bai Feng gritted her teeth in her heart. What the hell is going on? Bai Chang Feng and the others had just arrived. On the way here, they had been discussing how to deal with the people that Bai Jintang had captured and imprisoned. He didn't know how Hu Yenyang and the others knew that Bai Jintang was imprisoning people in the Bai family. For so many years, they had never been exposed. How did the other party confirm the existence of these people and coincidentally come in and rescue them? What Bai Changfeng didn't know was that Luo Qingtong had already killed Bai Jintang in Fenghua City, saving the people in his monastery. As the saying goes, a dog cannot change its habit of eating shit. When Bai Jintang came to Fenghua City, he did not forget to hunt for beauties. He even specially used a side courtyard to lock up those people. Then, how could there be no one in the Bai family whom he had captured and tortured? Luo Qingtong only needed to find the place where he lived and follow the vine to get to the melon. As for plotting against the Bai family, Chapter 1347. Moreover, they were imprisoned in the inner courtyard of the Bai family. If they wanted to leave this place alive, they would have to deal with the Bai family and make a big deal out of this. Only then would they be able to leave safely. Not only would they be able to avenge themselves, but they would also be able to help them leave this place. Why wouldn't they do it? Bai Changfeng's words were taken as an act of stupidity by the other family clans. Immediately, the other family clans became even angrier. Bai Changfeng, don't pretend to be stupid here. The people you imprisoned in the inner courtyard of the Bai family have already told us everything. And these scrolls. Take a look for yourselves. An elder of a mid-rank family clan said as he threw the scrolls in his hand in front of Bai Changfeng.
The latter was stunned for a moment before he noticed the scrolls on the ground. He picked up one of the scrolls and almost vomited blood like Bai Feng. What's going on? These things were not done by our Bai family. Bai Chongfeng really didn't know what the voodoo sect did. However, the Bai family did benefit from what the voodoo sect did to the other family clans. No matter how much Bai Chongfeng denied it, it was useless. After all, those things were all done by Bai Feng in secret to help the voodoo sect and the Bai family develop their strength. Now that he had been put on the table, under the connection between the two, he had no way to defend himself. Just when Bai Chongfeng was about to explode in anger, Hu Yenyang's cold voice sounded. Everyone, you've all seen it. These are not things that our family who slandered the Bai family. Not only did the Bai family make a move on our family whose people, they also didn't let the other families off. I don't know how many hidden hands they have in your family clans. I don't know how long it will take for you to follow in the footsteps of our family who, if you don't deal with them today, when they make a move, I'm afraid you won't be able to appear in Wildland City again. As Hu Yenyang's voice sounded, the faces of the other family clans instantly changed. Hu Yenyang's words poked at the deepest and most secret worry in their hearts. The Bai family was able to do so many things in their family. Who knew how many hidden hands they had planted in their clans? If they didn't get rid of the Bai family, then the one who would suffer in the future would be their own family. Disregarding everything else, the Hu clan was a good example. Back then, family Hu was so imposing. They were practically the strongest middle-ranked family in Wildland City, and they were strong enough to stand at the pinnacle. In the end, wasn't it because of the Bai family's series of schemes that almost ruined their family? The strength of the clan had declined to the point that it was barely at the bottom of the mid-grade clans. When everyone thought of this, they suddenly felt a chill in their hearts. His gaze towards Bai Chongfeng and the others was also indescribably cold. Bai Chongfeng and the other members of the Bai family instantly panicked after being stared at by so many people. Just as cold sweat broke out on their foreheads and they couldn't help but retreat step by step, Bai Feng finally calmed down and raised her head. Hu Yenyang, I have to admit that you found a good backer this time. Not only did family Hu survive this time, but you also made a comeback. Chapter 1348. Bai Feng raised her head. She no longer had that gentle and delicate expression on her face. In its place was a cold and arrogant look. When Bai Feng realized that there was no way for her and the others to explain herself, she decided to drop the act. She returned to her cold and arrogant self. She looked down at Hu Yenyang and the others and laughed coldly. So what if the Bai family is behind all this? Do you dare to lay a finger on me? Don't forget that I am not just the eldest daughter of the Bai family. I am also the young mistress of the Hua family. What right do you have to lay a finger on me? What right do you have to lay a finger on me? Her gaze swept across all the family members present. Her gaze was arrogant as she looked at them, and a hesitant expression appeared on her face. Hu Yenyang, do you know? The most successful thing I have done in my life was to set you up. Marry Hua Ting. Bai Feng looked at Hu Yenyang and lifted her head proudly. She played with the caramel on her fingernails and said proudly, You don't know how good he is to me. How honorable the identity of the young mistress of the Hua family is. So what if you've invited these people and exposed our Bai family's secret? You still can't do anything to me, can you? Hu Yenyang, you must know that all these identities should have been yours. Haha. Unfortunately, it's all mine now. Furthermore, this time, none of you from the family Hu family can even dream of stepping out of the Bai family's front door. Bai Feng, who had completely revealed her true nature, looked at Hu Yenyang and the others with an icy gaze. She then turned to the surrounding family members and said coldly, If you don't want to be dealt with by the Hua family, get out of here immediately and keep your mouths shut. Bai Feng's words instantly caused the surrounding people from the various clans to reveal furious expressions on their faces. However, because of the threat in Bai Feng's words, none of them dared to voice their anger. They were really angry at the Bai family's actions. They did not want the Bai family to continue being so arrogant. But they could deal with the Bai family. The Hua family was not to be trifled with. Putting everything else aside, the Hua clan was one of the top clans in Wildland City, and they had a saint overseeing them. Hua Ting, on the other hand, was the most favored successor of the Hua family in this generation.
Bai Feng was Hua Ting's wife. Even if the Bai family had done something so outrageous, the Hua family would suppress the matter for the sake of the Hua family's reputation. The small and medium-sized families present were no match for the Hua family. In Wildland City, the difference in strength between the clans was just that cruel. The difference in level was also huge. The strong enjoyed all the privileges, while the weak could only swallow their anger. Just as the group of clansmen were holding their breaths and preparing to retreat, a faint voice suddenly sounded from behind Hu Yenyang and the others. The eldest daughter of the Bai family sure talks big. But I really want to know who the Hua family will find to avenge you if they can't spread the news. The Bai family has mysteriously died in the inner courtyard of their own home. It is suspected that someone is seeking revenge. However, the identity of the culprit is too mysterious and too powerful. Many of the powerful family members present have done their best to help, but they are helpless. How sad. Eldest daughter of the Bai family, what do you think? Chapter 1349. Young Master. Luo Qingtong's figure appeared in front of the crowd as their voices rang out. Luo Qingtong pulled Chu Lingfeng along with an indifferent expression on her face. They walked through the path that family who had opened up and stood in front of Hu Zhongtian and the others. As for Bai Feng, after hearing Luo Qingtong's words, her expression changed instantly. You! She could not be bothered to investigate Luo Qingtong's identity. She quickly lifted her head and looked around her. Then, she suddenly realized that this place seemed to be a little too quiet. Apart from this group of people, there was not a single sound coming from outside. Where were the Bai family's guards? When Bai Feng had just threatened Hu Yenyang and the others, she had secretly crushed the summoning order in her hand to gather the many powerful cultivators and elite guards of the Bai family. However, at this moment, apart from this group of people, there was no one else present. Bai Feng's heart was filled with shock and anger. Luo Qingtong's voice slowly rang out at this moment. There's no need to look. Her expression was indifferent as she lifted her eyes to look at the shocked and furious Bai Feng and the others. I've already sealed off the surrounding space with my array. No news or movements from here can be transmitted out. You can do as you please. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she spoke with a smile. Her last words were naturally directed at the people from the various family clans who were preparing to evacuate. After Luo Qingtong had pulled Chu Lingfeng out of the dungeon, she had not been idle. When Hu Yenyang and the others arrived, she had been busy in the depths of the inner courtyard. Now, everyone here was enveloped in the array that she had set up. Bai Feng wanted to inform the Hua family to come and save them? She must be dreaming. Since Luo Qingtong knew about her relationship with the Hua family, how could she not have taken precautions against her having a backup plan? Today, everyone from the Bai family must die. Only with their deaths could she avenge family Hu and protect the news of family Hu's map of the Holy Monarch's tomb. Luo Qingtong did not doubt that if the Bai family managed to escape this ordeal, they would immediately tell the Hua family about the map of the Holy Monarch's tomb. When that time came, it would inevitably attract more trouble. Luo Qingtong did not wish for any more twists and turns in the matter of the Holy Monarch's tomb. As Luo Qingtong's words rang out, the people from the various family clans who were preparing to evacuate immediately and the others' footsteps immediately stopped in their tracks. Their stomachs. The Bai family had caused them so much trouble, yet Bai Feng's mention of the Hua family made them not dare to make a move. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't aggrieved or angry. Especially when they thought of the possibility that the Bai family had played tricks in their families, they became even angrier and more furious. However, Bai Feng was the daughter-in-law of the Hua family, and the Bai family was the Hua family's in-laws. They could make a proposal to the Bai family and ask for compensation, but they would not dare to lay a hand on the Bai family like family Hu's people. Now that Luo Qingtong had spoken, their eyes instantly lit up. Especially after seeing the shocked and furious expression on Bai Feng's face, they were even more certain and believed in Luo Qingtong's words. If Bai Feng and the others could not spread the news, then even if they killed Bai Feng and the others, so what if they annihilated the Bai family? Chapter 1350. All of you. Seeing the other clans surrounding them, the expressions of the Bai clan's people became even more furious. Bai Feng was the same. She had tried several methods but was unable to send a message out of Luo Qingtong's array. She was also unable to get any response from the Bai family's elite guards outside. Her expression was indescribably twisted. "Don't be so smug. Even so, this is our Bai family's territory. We still have the advantage." Bai Feng's face was filled with ferocity. Her eyes were cold. Even though Hu Yenyang's people had used an array to seal the space here, the inner courtyard was still an important place for the Bai family. When they came, they had brought many guards with them. With just these people and the Bai family's strong cultivators, it would not be a problem to wipe out all these people. After all, these people that Hu Zhongtian had called over did not bring many people with them. Most of the clans only sent their clan leaders or clan elders to come. Since they wanted to make a move against the Bai family, they might as well destroy them as well. They could then push the blame onto family Hu. However, Bai Feng's face was filled with malevolence as she thought. Plop, plop, plop. The guards of the Bai family who were following them suddenly swayed and fell to the ground. All of them were unconscious. Bai Chongfeng and the rest were also thinking the same thing as Bai Feng. However, before they could give the order, all the guards on their side had fallen. As a result, the Bai family's strong cultivators were facing off against family Hu and the other families. The Bai family's advantage was gone. The other families, including family Hu's people, had completely offset the number of strong cultivators on their side. In fact, the other side had the upper hand. Their original plan to let the guards hold off these people first, then they would work together to break the array. However, it had failed. All right, all the obstacles have been cleared. Let's do it. As Luo Qingtong's voice rang out, Hu Zhongtian and the rest immediately made their move. Although those clans were somewhat shocked by Luo Qingtong's methods, they were also curious about her identity. But at this time, he didn't have time to think too much. He directly followed Hu Zhongtian and the others and rushed towards Bai Chongfeng and the others. The other party had done a lot of things in their family and had the backing of the Hua family. They had to be eliminated. Otherwise, their clans would most likely end up in the same state as the Hu clan. Bai Chongfeng and the others didn't even have time to recover from their shock before they were forced to fight back. In the blink of an eye, the entire area near the exit of the dungeon was filled with traces of heaven and earth spirit chi rioting. Rumble! A group of Sage Realm experts and those who had surpassed the Sage Realm were attacking each other. The Bai family's experts were all present. On the other hand, Hu Zhongtian's side was filled with experts from various families. The number of experts gathered together was not much less than the number of experts from the Bai family. A group of people were fighting. As for Bai Feng, the instant those guards fell, her heart was also violently alarmed. After all, her cultivation wasn't high at the moment, so she might be affected as well. However, after waiting for a while, she did not feel any dizziness. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.